Hello, everyone. I'm Rose, and let me share my story with you. My mother in law, Sherry, used to be a different person, not the vain and shallow woman she is now. This change occurred later in her life, or at least that's what my husband Dylan believes. Growing up, Dylan and Sherry didn't have a lavish lifestyle. They led a modest life together after Dylan's father passed away when he was just 4 years old. Sherry took on the role of the breadwinner, and they've lived a simple life until Dylan secured a great job after college. Dylan is a remarkable and kind man, not just because he's my husband. He earned a full scholarship to medical school and became a doctor. Despite his success, Dylan remained humble. However, Sherry's life took a turn for the luxurious. Now, let me clarify. I don't have a job for reasons I'll discuss later, but that doesn't mean I am poor or dependent on others. Unfortunately, Sherry got the wrong impression of me when we first met. Whether it was my clothes or mannerisms, something repelled her. On our first encounter, she said, "Dylan, is this the girl you've been raving about? She's so plain and average. Why would you choose someone like her? Does she even have a job?" My name is Rose, and no, I don't have a job. However, Sherry assumed that meant I was planning to trap her son and drain his money. She labeled me as a gold digger and a parasite, making baseless assumptions about my character. Dylan defended me, but the argument escalated and we decided to leave. During our journey home, Dylan apologized for his mother's behavior, acknowledging that she had crossed a line. He reassured me, saying his mom no longer knows how to act like a sane person. Although her words hurt, Dylan asked me not to mind them. Yet I couldn't shake the feeling that being comfortable around Sherry might be a challenge. After all, she's the only parent Dylan has left. I decided to step back. We don't have much extended family, and completely cutting her off isn't feasible. I won't push you to be friends with her, but can you at least be civil around her? I can act respectfully towards your mom, Dylan, but I doubt she'll reciprocate. Don't worry, Rose. I'll keep her in check. If she crosses the line, we can consider reducing contact. I love my mom, but I love you too. I won't let her harass you for no reason. I was skeptical about my relationship with Sherry. Dylan assured me he'd stand up for me, but I still felt uneasy. Dylan and I got married 3 years after we started dating. We had a court wedding due to financial constraints. Dylan was sending Sherry a lot of money every month for emergencies. Even after we married, he continued this practice, straining our finances. I didn't stop him. I believed he had the right to help his mom. However, Sherry became a problem. She regularly spoke ill of me and gossiped with her friends, spreading rumors about me being a gold digger. I ignored it initially, but it started affecting my reputation. Despite Dylan's efforts, Sherry never treated me kindly. She believed I wasn't good enough for her son. Surprisingly, one day, Dylan told me that his mom wanted to invite me to a small party she was hosting. I was skeptical since she disliked me. Dylan assured me that she promised to improve and wanted me there. It seemed odd considering her recent financial struggles, but Dylan believed she managed somehow. I agreed to go, despite my concerns about her behavior. Dylan hoped his mom was making an effort, so I decided to keep an open mind. I truly wanted us to mend our relationship and become friends. I had serious doubts that Sherry would ever consider being friends with me, despite my willingness to be civil and make an effort for Dylan's sake. It seemed that Sherry had little regard for his happiness. Despite my skepticism, I decided to attend the party, eagerly waiting for Sherry to provide details. Sherry texted me the next day, and I assumed she was extending the invitation. However, her message took an unexpected turn. She started by mentioning the party at a 5-star hotel everyone had been raving about, promising her friends a great time. This excited her, and she planned to take 15 people. Curious, I asked if I was invited, given Dylan's assurance. To my surprise, Sherry responded with arrogance and disdain. She made it clear that I was not invited, emphasizing the exclusivity of the event due to her wealth, family status, and the supposed classiness of her friends. I was taken aback and confused, as Dylan had genuinely believed Sherry was extending an invitation. I expressed my assumption, only to be met with Sherry's condescending remarks, stating that I wouldn't understand the intricacies of planning such an event. I decided to maintain my dignity, acknowledging her message and clarifying that I wouldn't attend if I wasn't wanted. Sherry reiterated her stance, emphasizing her class and status, while I resisted the urge to respond with anger. Disappointed and hurt, I chose not to share this with Dylan. Instead, I patiently waited for the day of the party. Sherry, oblivious to the emotional impact of her actions, sent me a picture showcasing her and her friends in designer outfits, flaunting their status on social media. I refrained from responding, choosing to focus on my work and patiently await the unfolding of events. After about 3 hours, I received a call from my dad, and here's a confession for you all. My dad owns the hotel where Sherry was hosting her party. Sherry had no clue about this. 3 years ago, I inherited a substantial amount from my grandfather, which I invested in my dad's business. Now, I receive a share of the profits from the hotel and other family-owned businesses. Despite coming from a well-off family, I prefer not to broadcast it, and that's why Sherry was unaware of my background. She also had no idea about the high cost of the 5-star hotel and its restaurant. Sherry let her friends order without checking the menu or prices, resulting in a hefty $2,000 bill. This turn of events was the perfect opportunity for revenge. My dad called me to inform me that Sherry was at the hotel, having amassed a $2,000 bill. She was now asking for a 50% discount, claiming she was short on cash. My dad sought my advice, as Sherry's party had been rude and entitled, upsetting the staff. As expected, I shared my frustration with my dad, recounting how Sherry had boasted about the party to mock me for not being invited. The irony was not lost on me, given that she couldn't even afford the party she was flaunting. My dad expressed his understanding of the situation and shared the challenges faced by his staff due to Sherry's behavior. I saw an opportunity for revenge and suggested making Sherry and her team wash the dishes, clean the entire kitchen and the floor, given their insulting behavior. I wanted to extend this revenge to include Sherry's team, who had also mistreated our staff. If Sherry tried anything foolish, my dad could call the cops on her. My dad laughed at the suggestion, giving it a big thumbs up. He even offered to share pictures of the event. It seemed like the perfect chance to turn the tables and teach Sherry a lesson about humility and respect. When it happened, I would have relished seeing Sherry face the consequences of her actions. My dad promised to follow my suggestion and hung up. An hour or so later, he sent me pictures of Sherry and her friends washing dishes and wiping the floor at our restaurants. Dad also shared that when Sherry saw him as the restaurant owner, she looked relieved. She began telling him that she knew the owner and they would get out of the situation. To her surprise, Dad instructed her to clean his restaurants. She was dumbstruck for a while, and when she started to protest, Dad reminded her that since she didn't consider me family, he didn't consider her family either. It was a hilarious turn of events, and though I wished I was there, I did get some good pictures. After a while, Dylan came home looking visibly upset. I could tell he had heard from Sherry about what happened, and I knew she must have given him a twisted account of the events. He approached me, questioning what he heard about my dad making his mom clean the restaurant dishes. I explained to Dylan that it was the usual norm for us in such situations. Sherry had gone to our restaurant, racked up a $2,000 bill, claimed she didn't have more than $1,000, harassed our staff, and her party had been a nightmare. I believe this punishment was fitting. Dylan seemed surprised and questioned who Sherry had taken with her and what they ordered. I informed him that she took 15 people, and they ordered a lot, especially the fancy items. He expressed disbelief, as Sherry had told him she was taking only 4 people and had invited me, but I declined. I clarified that things didn't happen that way, and I showed him the text messages from Sherry. Dylan requested the bills and asked me to show him the texts, wanting to understand the situation better. I showed Dylan all the texts, and my dad sent him the bills. I also presented some pictures to illustrate the scale of Sherry's party. Dylan grew extremely mad when he saw everything. He called Sherry, asking her what was wrong and why she hadn't told him the full story. Sherry claimed she only mentioned being short of cash, and I must have given him a different story to sabotage her. Dylan confronted her, pointing out that she declined my invitation and insulted me by saying I wasn't classy enough for her. Sherry tried to brush it off as a harmless joke, but Dylan wasn't buying it. He questioned her spending thousands of dollars taken from him on friends while insulting his wife. He called her out for her actions, stating that spending $2,000 on food and drink wasn't a small matter. Sherry was left trying to justify her actions, while Dylan expressed his disbelief at her behavior. I made a mistake by giving you money whenever you shared stories about needing it, Mom. Well, guess what? I'm not giving you any money again. But Dylan, you've been so supportive for so long. You can't just stop now. It was a one-time mistake. Dylan, why are you overreacting? No, Mom, I am not overreacting. This is not a one-time mistake. If you can't even consider my wife as family, I don't want anything to do with you. I always thought you would change your mind, but you never did. I'm not paying you to insult my wife and call her classless while she sacrifices a lot to support you. This ends now. Dylan didn't listen to Sherry anymore. He hung up on her and blocked her number. He also apologized profusely to me for being mad at me without knowing the full story. I forgave him because, well, he did stand up for me. We had a serious discussion about Sherry and jointly decided that she will no longer be in our lives for now. Yes, Dylan is now a wealthy man, but he knows to stay humble. He found Sherry's behavior completely unacceptable, especially because it was directed towards me. I agreed with the fact that it was very unfair to me, and I was all set to remove her from our life for good. In the next few days, Sherry reached peak madness. She realized that her own actions may have damaged her relationship with her son for good, sending her into a horrible panic. She showed up at our house and demanded to speak with Dylan. Slowly, her demands turned into begging after she was turned away from the door every time. Yes, Sherry worked and earned some money. However, it wasn't enough for the high-end lifestyle she had gotten used to all these years. Dylan had stopped giving her money entirely. Instead, he invested some of his funds into my dad's business to help him open new hotels and restaurants in the neighborhood. We do plan on expanding our hotel business to bigger cities, but we'll have to see what the future holds. Since Dylan stopped sending her funds, Sherry had to downgrade her lifestyle significantly. She was struggling to keep the rented condo with her own money and ultimately decided to end her lease. She has now shifted to a small one-bedroom apartment and doesn't have any money to spend on extras after all the bill payments. How do we know this? She emails us about it. Of course, she still downplays her behavior and acts like we are overreacting. Suffice it to say, she will be out of our lives for a while now. Just a month ago, I found out that I was pregnant. Dylan and I are overjoyed and busy planning everything before our baby comes. To be honest, I'm glad that my child won't be around shallow people like Sherry anymore. But if the time comes, I will make sure my dear mother-in-law doesn't get to fill my child's head with nonsense. For now, please wish us luck so that we can be good parents to a healthy child.
The pristine white envelope trembled in my hands as I stared at the return address, a name I hadn't seen in decades. My mother-in-law's voice droned on about proper family values in the background, but all I could focus on was the elegant script that read Jolie Thornton. I'm Cadence, and until that moment I thought I knew exactly how this dinner would go. I'd been rehearsing my adoption pitch for weeks, determined to finally make my dream of motherhood come true. But fate, it seemed, had other plans. And that's why maintaining our family's reputation is paramount, Angelina concluded, dabbing her mouth with a cloth napkin. Her perfectly coiffed silver hair caught the light of the chandelier, making her look more regal than a simple family dinner warranted. Mother, my husband Beckett interjected, squeezing my hand under the table. Cadence and I have something we'd like to discuss. My heart raced. This was it. I cleared my throat. We've been thinking about adoption. The crystal wine glass in Angelina's hand froze halfway to her lips. Adoption? She pronounced the word as if it were poisonous. Yes, I pressed on, my voice stronger than I felt. There are so many children who need loving homes, and we— Absolutely not. Angelina's tone could have frozen hell itself. The Norris family has maintained a pure bloodline for generations. We don't take in strays. Beckett's grip on my hand tightened. Mother, times have changed. Adoption is a scandal waiting to happen, she cut him off. What will people think? What will they say at the country club? Have you considered that? I stood up, my chair scraping against the hardwood floor. With all due respect, Angelina, I don't give a damn what people at the country club think. Sit down, she hissed. We're not finished. Actually, we are. I grabbed my purse and the mysterious envelope. Beckett, I'll see you at home. The drive to Ruby's apartment was a blur. My best friend opened her door, took one look at my face, and pulled me into a hug. That bad, huh? She led me to her cozy living room, already reaching for the emergency wine stash. Worse. I collapsed onto her worn leather couch. She called potential adoptees strays, Ruby, like they're unwanted animals. Ruby handed me a generous pour of red. That woman is toxic. What's that envelope you're clutching like a lifeline? I'd almost forgotten about it. It came today. It's from someone named Jolie Thornton. The return address is from my mother's hometown. Well, Ruby perched on the arm of the couch. Open it! My hands shook as I broke the seal. The letter inside was handwritten, the paper expensive. Dear Cadence, I read aloud. You don't know me, but I'm your mother's sister, your aunt. I've spent years trying to reconnect with the family after a falling out before you were born. I know this may come as a shock, but I'm dying. And there are things you need to know. Things about our family that could change everything. If you're willing to hear me out, please come to the address below. Time is of the essence. Love, Aunt Jolie. Ruby whistled low. Holy shit. My mom never mentioned having a sister. I stared at the letter, my mind racing. Why would she keep this from me? More importantly, Ruby said, refilling my glass, what secrets could be so important that a dying woman needs to tell you in person? My phone buzzed. Another message from Beckett apologizing for his mother's behavior. I ignored it. You know what? I stood up, suddenly energized. I'm going, this week. I need to know what Jolie has to say. Are you sure? Ruby's concern was evident. What about Beckett? What about the adoption plans? I thought about Angelina's cruel words, about the years of subtle manipulation and control, about how she'd systematically crushed every dream that didn't fit her perfect family image. The adoption plans aren't going anywhere, I said firmly, but something tells me this could change everything. Maybe it's time someone challenged Angelina's iron grip on this family. Ruby raised her glass. To whatever secrets Aunt Jolie has in store, may they be juicy enough to give that old bat a heart attack. I clinked my glass against hers, but my mind was already racing ahead. Whatever Jolie had to tell me, one thing was certain. I was done letting Angelina Norris dictate my life. And if this mysterious aunt had information that could help me break free from her control, well, that would be karma at its finest. Little did I know, that letter would set in motion events that would shatter the Norris family's perfect facade forever, and give me exactly the ammunition I needed to claim the life I'd always dreamed of. The Victorian mansion loomed before me, its weathered brick facade telling stories of decades past. I double-checked the address from Jolie's letter, took a deep breath, and pressed the doorbell. Beckett's calls had gone unanswered during my 3-hour drive. I couldn't deal with his torn loyalties right now. A tall woman with silver-streaked auburn hair opened the door. Despite her obvious illness, her eyes sparkled with the same green shade as mine. Cadence, she breathed, her face lighting up. You look just like your mother did at your age. Aunt Jolie? My voice cracked slightly. She pulled me into a warm embrace that felt nothing like Angelina's stiff, formal hugs. Come in, sweetheart. We have so much to talk about. The interior was a beautiful mix of antiques and modern comfort. Jolie led me to a sunny sitting room where tea was already laid out. "I've been watching you from afar," she said, pouring tea into delicate cups. "Social media is quite useful for keeping tabs on family." "Why didn't my mother ever mention you?" Jolie's hands trembled slightly as she set down the teapot. "Because I was the family scandal. I got pregnant at 16, refused to give up my baby for adoption. Your grandparents wanted to send me away, preserve the family image." She laughed bitterly. "Sound familiar?" My throat tightened. Exactly like Angelina. Some patterns repeat themselves, don't they? Jolie reached for a photo album. "This is my daughter, Sarah. She died in a car accident 10 years ago, along with her husband." "I'm so sorry," I whispered, studying the photo of a smiling young woman. "Life is too short to let others dictate your happiness, Cadence." Jolie's voice grew stronger. "I fought for my choices, lost my family, but I never regretted it. I built a successful business, raised a beautiful daughter, lived life on my terms." "What happened with Mom?" "She chose the family's side. Reputation over love, another pattern you might recognize." Jolie's eyes met mine. "But that's not why I called you here." She stood, walking to an antique desk. "I'm dying, Cadence. Pancreatic cancer. 3 months, maybe less." She pulled out a thick envelope. "This is my will. I'm leaving everything to you." I nearly dropped my teacup. "What? But we've just met." "You're my only living relative who understands what it's like to fight against family tyranny. My estate is worth considerable money, Cadence. Enough to give you complete independence from the Norris family's influence." My phone buzzed again. Angelina this time. I silenced it. "There's more," Jolie continued. "I have documentation of some rather unsavory business dealings involving the Norris family's precious reputation. Insurance, should you need it." "I can't accept this," I protested. "It's too much." Jolie sat beside me, taking my hands in hers. "When Sarah died, I lost my purpose. But watching you struggle against the same oppression I faced, it gave me a new one. Use this inheritance to build the family you dream of. Don't let Angelina do to you what my parents did to me." Tears welled in my eyes. I don't know what to say. "Say you'll fight. Say you'll live life on your terms." Her grip tightened. "My lawyer, George, will contact you soon. There's one condition to the inheritance, though." "What's that?" A mischievous smile crossed her face. "You have to promise to send me a photo of Angelina's face when she realizes she's lost control." I couldn't help but laugh through my tears. "I think I can manage that." We spent the next few hours sharing stories, looking at photos, bridging the decades of separation. As the sun began to set, Jolie walked me to the door. "Remember, Cadence, family isn't about blood or reputation. It's about love, pure and simple." I hugged her tightly, memorizing the feeling of finally having someone truly in my corner. "I'll come back soon." "Don't wait too long," she said softly. "Time isn't on my side." Driving home, my mind raced with possibilities. The inheritance could change everything. Fund the adoption, give us independence from Angelina's financial control. But the real gift was knowing I wasn't alone in this fight. My phone rang. Beckett again. This time I answered. "Where have you been?" he demanded. "Mother's furious." I smiled, thinking of Jolie's strength, her defiance, her legacy. "Tell her I'm done playing by her rules. Things are about to change, Beckett. You can either stand with me or stand with her, but I'm done compromising." The silence on his end spoke volumes. Finally, he sighed. "What happened today?" "I found someone who showed me what real family means," I replied, "and I'm about to shake up Angelina's perfect world in ways she never saw coming." The doorbell rang exactly at 9 a.m. George Pearson stood on my doorstep, briefcase in hand, looking every bit the distinguished lawyer in his tailored suit. "Mrs. Norris?" He extended his hand. "I'm here regarding Jolie Thornton's estate." "Please call me Cadence." I led him to the living room, grateful Beckett was at work. "Would you like coffee?" "No, thank you. Time is of the essence." He opened his briefcase, spreading documents across our coffee table. "As you know, Jolie intends to leave you her entire estate. The estimated value is just over $12 million. I nearly choked on my coffee. 12 million? Her tech company's sale was quite profitable. George adjusted his glasses. However, there's a condition that might complicate things. A knock at the door interrupted us. My heart sank as I heard Angelina's voice through the door. Cadence? Your car's here. I know you're home. Just a moment. I turned to George, panicked. That's my mother-in-law. She can't know about this. George quickly gathered the papers. Perhaps I should... The door opened. Of course Angelina had a spare key. Really, Cadence, it's rude to keep people waiting. She strode in, freezing at the sight of George. Oh, I wasn't aware you had company. Mrs. Norris, I said through gritted teeth, this is a private meeting. Nonsense, I'm family. She settled into an armchair like a queen on her throne. And who might you be, sir? George glanced at me, then straightened his tie. I'm a lawyer representing a family member of Cadence's. Angelina's perfectly plucked eyebrows rose. Oh? What family member would that be? That's confidential, I snapped. Everything involving this family concerns me, Angelina declared. As the matriarch? You're not my matriarch. The words burst out before I could stop them. This has nothing to do with the Norris family. George cleared his throat. Perhaps we should reschedule. No, I said firmly. Mrs. Norris was just leaving. Angelina's face hardened. I most certainly was not. If there are legal matters involving this family... The condition, George interrupted, looking directly at me, requires you to legally change your last name back to Wilkinson within 30 days of accepting the inheritance. The room went deadly silent. Angelina's face turned an interesting shade of purple. Absolutely not, she finally sputtered. The Norris name is a legacy. One I never asked for, I cut in, a strange calm settling over me. How soon can we start the paperwork, George? This is outrageous! Angelina stood, trembling with rage. I won't allow it. Beckett won't allow it. Beckett doesn't own me. I met her gaze steadily. And neither do you. You'll regret this, she hissed. Whatever money you're being offered, it's not worth destroying this family. George pulled out another document. There's more. The inheritance includes evidence of certain irregularities in the Norris Family Foundation's financial records. Angelina went pale. What did you say? Jolie was quite thorough in her research, I said sweetly. Something about misappropriated charity funds? You're bluffing, but her voice trembled slightly. Would you like to test that theory? I stood, walking to the door. I think we're done here, Angelina. I'll need your key back. Her hand shook as she removed the key from her ring. You have no idea what you're doing. Actually, for the first time in years, I do. I took the key. Give Beckett my love when you run to tell him all about this. After she left, George let out a low whistle. That was intense. Did you mean it? About the financial records? He nodded, pulling out a USB drive. Everything's here. Jolie wanted you to have ammunition. And the name change condition? Was that really her idea? No. George smiled slightly. That was a little improvisation on my part. Seemed like good timing. I laughed, feeling lighter than I had in years. It was perfect timing. There is one actual condition, he said, becoming serious. Jolie wants you to use part of the inheritance to start a foundation, supporting adoptive families, helping children find homes. Tears pricked my eyes. She really thought of everything, didn't she? She believed in you. George packed up his briefcase. The ball's in your court now, Cadence. What's your next move? My phone buzzed. A text from Beckett. Mother just called. We need to talk. I showed George to the door, then typed my response. Yes, we do. And this time, you're going to listen. The game was changing. Angelina had always held all the cards. But now I had a royal flush, and I wasn't afraid to play it. Let her rally the family against me. Let her threaten and scheme. I had 12 million reasons not to care anymore. Beckett's car pulled into the driveway at midnight. I was waiting in the kitchen, 2 glasses of whiskey on the counter. He looked exhausted, his tie loose and hair disheveled. "Mother kept me at the house for hours," he said, dropping into a chair. "Telling me how you've lost your mind, how you're destroying our family name." I slid one of the whiskey glasses toward him. "And what do you think?" "I think—" He took a long sip. "I think you'd better explain what's going on." I told him everything, about Jolie, the inheritance, the foundation plans. His expression shifted from skepticism to disbelief to something like hope. $12 million? He ran a hand through his hair. "And the evidence about the foundation's finances? Want to see it?" I pulled out my laptop, opening the files George had left. "Your mother's been skimming from charity funds for years, using donations to pay for her country club memberships, spa retreats, shopping sprees." Beckett's face hardened as he scrolled through the documents. "Jesus Christ! That's not all." I took a deep breath. "I'm going through with the name change." His head snapped up. "Cadence. No, listen to me. For 7 years I've tried to fit into your mother's perfect world. I've smiled at her backhanded compliments, accepted her control, compromised my dreams. I'm done. This will destroy her." "She's been destroying me!" My voice cracked. "Every time she blocked our adoption plans, every time she undermined my choices. Where were you?" He flinched. "I tried to balance—" "Balance?" I laughed bitterly. "There is no balance with your mother. It's her way or nothing. Well, now I have the power to choose nothing." Silence stretched between us. Finally, Beckett stood and walked to the window. "Do you remember why we fell in love?" he asked quietly. "Because you said I was the first person who made you feel free?" He turned back to me, eyes glistening. "Mother's already called an emergency family meeting for tomorrow. She's rallying everyone against you." "Let her." I stood, joining him at the window. "But you need to decide right now, Beckett. Are you my husband or are you her son? Because I can't fight both of you." "What about a compromise?" "No more compromises." I touched his cheek. "I'm starting the adoption process next week. I'm changing my name. I'm launching a foundation that will help families like us. The only question is whether you'll be by my side or in my way." His phone buzzed. Another text from Angelina. He silenced it without looking. "She'll never forgive this," he whispered. "I can live with that. Can you?" He pulled me into his arms, holding me tight. "Tell me about your plans for the foundation." Relief flooded through me. "Really?" "Really." He kissed my forehead. "Maybe it's time someone stood up to her, but we need to be smart about this." We spent the next few hours strategizing. Beckett knew his mother's tactics, her pressure points, her weaknesses. By dawn, we had a plan. "She'll try to turn my siblings against us first," he said, yawning. "Marcus and Diana always follow her lead." "Let them." I showed him the adoption agency website I'd bookmarked. "Look at these children, Beckett. This is what we're fighting for." His expression softened as he scrolled through the profiles. "This little girl, she has your smile. Her name is Sophie. I'd been studying her profile for weeks. She's 6, loves art and dogs, and she's been in the system since she was 3. Beckett's phone buzzed again, Diana this time. "It's starting. Mother's told them you're having a mental breakdown, threatening to expose family secrets." "Well, she's half right," I grinned. "I am threatening to expose secrets, but I'm perfectly sane." He laughed, really laughed, for the first time in days. "You know what? Let's skip the family meeting tomorrow." "Skip it? Your mother will have a meltdown." "Exactly." He pulled me close. "Let's go to the adoption agency instead. Start the paperwork. Show her we're serious. She'll find out. I'm counting on it." His eyes sparkled with newfound defiance. "You're not the only one tired of living under her thumb." My phone chimed. A message from Ruby. "Angelina's at the country club telling everyone you're having a nervous breakdown. Want me to start spreading some rumors of my own?" I showed Beckett the message. He grinned. "Tell her to focus on the charity fund mismanagement. Mother's reputation is built on her philanthropic image." As I typed the response, I felt lighter than I had in years. Tomorrow would bring chaos, but for the first time I wasn't facing it alone. Ready for war? I asked Beckett. He kissed me softly. Ready for freedom. The country club dining room crackled with tension. Angelina had orchestrated this casual family lunch perfectly. All of Beckett's siblings and their spouses, several prominent community members conveniently seated nearby. A perfect audience for her performance. "So nice of you to finally join us," she said as Beckett and I sat down. "We were beginning to worry after you missed the family meeting." "We had an appointment," I replied sweetly, "at the adoption agency." Diana, Beckett's younger sister, gasped. Marcus, his brother, nearly choked on his water. "Still pursuing that unfortunate idea?" Angelina's smile never wavered. "Even after everything that's happened? You mean after I inherited $12 million? I took a sip of water, noting how heads turned at nearby tables. "Yes, especially after that." "Cadence." Marcus leaned forward. "Mother tells us you're not well, that you're making rash decisions, like exposing how charity donations are being misused." I pulled out a folder. "Would you like to see the records?" "That's enough." Angelina's voice rose slightly. "This is neither the time nor place. Actually, it's perfect timing." I stood up, raising my voice just enough. "Did you know that the Norris Family Foundation spent $60,000 last year on personal expenses? Spa treatments, shopping trips, country club memberships?" The neighboring tables had gone silent. Angelina's face flushed red. "Sit down," she hissed. "No." I opened the folder. "Would anyone like to see the receipts? I have copies for everyone." Diana grabbed my arm. "You're embarrassing yourself." "Am I?" I shook her off. "Or am I finally exposing the truth about this family's perfect image?" "Beckett," Angelina snapped, "control your wife." Beckett stood, placing his hand on my back. "Actually, Mother, I've seen the evidence. Every receipt, every misappropriated dollar. It's all true." The silence in the room was deafening. Marcus's wife, Patricia, suddenly became very interested in her salad. Diana looked like she might faint. "This is how you repay everything I've done for you?" Angelina's voice trembled. "I welcomed you into this family." "You controlled me," I corrected. "You blocked our adoption plans, manipulated Beckett, used charity money for personal gain, and now everyone knows." As if on cue, my phone buzzed. I checked it and smiled. "Oh, look, the local newspaper just received an anonymous tip about financial irregularities at the foundation. Fascinating timing." Angelina stood so quickly, her chair toppled backward. "You little—" "Careful, Mother," Beckett interrupted. "Remember where we are." She looked around, finally noticing all the staring faces, the phones discreetly recording. Her carefully crafted image was crumbling in real time. "We're leaving," she announced. "Diana, Marcus, gather your things." "Actually," Marcus said slowly, "I think I'd like to see those records." Angelina froze. "What?" "Me too," Diana whispered. "If the foundation's money is being misused, our names are on that board too, Mother." I slid copies of the documents across the table. Page 3 is particularly interesting. The charitable donation that paid for your Christmas vacation to Aspen? "This is a declaration of war," Angelina said, her voice ice cold. "No," I replied. "This is karma." Just then, an elderly woman approached our table. "Angelina, is it true? About the foundation money?" "Mrs. Patterson," Angelina plastered on a smile. "This is all a misunderstanding." "My late husband and I donated $50,000 last year," Mrs. Patterson continued, "for the Children's Hospital Wing, which paid for your new Mercedes," I added helpfully. "The paperwork's right there on page 7. Mrs. Patterson's face hardened. "I'll be speaking with my lawyer, Angelina, and the board." As she walked away, other diners began to stand, gathering their things, whispering. The perfect bubble of social status Angelina had built was bursting spectacularly. "You've ruined everything," she spat at me. "No, you did that yourself." I gathered my purse. "By the way, we're approved for adoption. Sophie moves in next month. You're not welcome to visit." "Beckett!" It was her last desperate play. "You can't allow this." "Watch me." He took my hand. "Diana, Marcus, family dinner at our place next week? Without Mother?" They both nodded, still staring at the documents. As we walked out, I heard Angelina's muffled sob behind us. Part of me felt guilty, but then I remembered every cruel word, every blocked dream, every manipulation. "You okay?" Beckett squeezed my hand. Better than okay. I checked my phone. Ruby had already posted the story on social media. It was going viral. "I think it's time to visit Jolie again. Show her the photos she asked for." Beckett laughed. "Think she'll like the one of Mother knocking over her chair?" "I think she'll frame it." Behind us, the country club buzzed with scandal. But ahead lay freedom, family, and finally, justice. Jolie's laugh echoed through her hospital room as she flipped through the photos on my phone. Oh, that face! I wish I could have been there. She looked frailer than before, her hospital gown hanging loose on her thin frame, but her eyes still sparkled with mischief. "The foundation board meets tomorrow," I told her, adjusting her pillows. "They're voting on whether to remove Angelina as chairperson." "And the adoption?" I pulled out my phone, showing her Sophie's picture. "We meet her next week. The home study is complete and—" A commotion in the hallway cut me off. Angelina's voice carried through the door. "I don't care about visiting hours. I demand to see her." Jolie's face lit up. "Finally! I was wondering when she'd track me down." The door burst open. Angelina stood there, designer handbag clutched like a shield, face tight with fury. "You!" she pointed at Jolie. "You orchestrated this whole thing." "Hello, Angelina." Jolie smiled serenely. "My, you haven't aged well. Must be all that bitterness. You had no right to interfere with my family." "Your family?" Jolie's voice sharpened. "You mean the family you've terrorized? The one you've manipulated and controlled?" "I've protected them," Angelina snapped. "Maintained our standards, our reputation." "Your reputation?" I stood up. "You mean the one that's currently in shambles because you stole from charity?" "I did not steal." "The board doesn't agree," I cut in. "Neither does the IRS investigator who's reviewing the foundation's records." Angelina's face went white. "What investigator?" "Oh, didn't I mention?" Jolie coughed delicately. "I may have sent copies of those financial records to a few interested parties. Amazing how quickly the government moves when millions in charitable donations are misappropriated." "You vindictive—" "Careful," I warned. "Remember who holds the power now." Angelina's shoulders sagged slightly. For the first time, I saw fear in her eyes. "What do you want?" she whispered. "Want?" Jolie laughed. "Dear, we already have everything we want. Cadence has her freedom, her adoption plans, and soon she'll have my entire estate. The foundation will be restructured under new leadership. I hear Diana's quite eager to prove herself. And you? You'll be lucky to avoid prosecution. Unless," I added, "you agree to our terms." Angelina's eyes narrowed. "Terms?" "Step down from the foundation. Publicly support our adoption. Sign over your voting shares to Beckett. And most importantly, stay out of our lives." "And if I refuse?" I pulled out my phone, showing her the draft of a news article. "Then this story about your creative accounting goes public tomorrow. I'm sure the country club will love reading about it over breakfast." The door opened again. Beckett walked in, followed by Diana and Marcus. "Mother," Diana's voice was cold, "the board wants your resignation letter by morning." "Et tu, Diana?" Angelina's laugh was hollow. "We've seen the records," Marcus added. "All of them. It's over, Mother." Jolie reached for my hand, squeezing it weakly. "You see, Angelina, real family stands together, not out of fear or obligation, but out of love." "You're dying," Angelina observed suddenly. "This is your revenge, isn't it? Destroying what I built before you go?" "No," Jolie smiled. "This is my gift to Cadence, the chance I never had, to break free, to choose love over appearance, to build a real family." Tears rolled down my cheeks as I hugged her. Her body felt so fragile, but her spirit remained unbreakable. "The papers are drawn up," Beckett said quietly. "All you have to do is sign, Mother." Angelina looked around the room, at her children's resolute faces, at Jolie's triumphant smile, at my unwavering stance. The fight seemed to drain from her body. "Fine," she whispered. "You win." "No, Angelina," Jolie said softly. Love wins. It always does in the end. As Beckett led his mother out to sign the papers, I turned to Jolie. Thank you for everything. Just promise me one thing. She squeezed my hand. Promise me you'll love that little girl enough for both of us, and send me a picture when she comes home. I promise. I wiped my eyes. Though something tells me you'll be watching from somewhere. You bet I will be. She closed her eyes, tired but content. Now go. You have a family to build. Walking out of the hospital, I found Beckett waiting by the car. It's done, he said. Mother signed everything. How do you feel? He pulled me close. Free. Ready to be a dad. You? I showed him the latest text from the adoption agency, Sophie's smiling face attached. Ready to be a mom. Ready for our real life to begin. The sun was setting, painting the sky in brilliant colors. Somewhere above, I imagined Jolie watching, smiling, knowing that her final act of rebellion had set us all free. The adoption agency's waiting room felt too small to contain all my nervous energy. Beckett paced back and forth while I fidgeted with the small teddy bear we'd brought for Sophie. Mrs. Wilkinson? The social worker, Amanda, appeared with a warm smile. She's ready to meet you. My new name still felt strange, but wonderful on my ears. Beckett squeezed my hand as we followed Amanda down the hallway. She's been drawing pictures all morning, Amanda said. Hasn't stopped talking about meeting her new parents. The door opened, and there she was. Sophie sat at a small table, dark curls falling around her face as she concentrated on her drawing. She looked up, and my heart stopped. Hi, she said shyly, those big brown eyes studying us carefully. Hi, Sophie. I knelt down to her level. I'm Cadence, and this is Beckett. We brought you something. I held out the teddy bear. She reached for it hesitantly, then hugged it tight. I drew you a picture, she announced, pushing her paper forward. It's all of us, and a dog. Can we get a dog? Beckett laughed, kneeling beside me. I think that could be arranged. The next hour flew by as Sophie showed us her favorite books, told us about her best friend at the group home, and asked approximately 1 million questions. Will I have my own room? Yes, we've already painted it purple. Amanda told us it's your favorite color. Can I bring my blanket? Of course. Will there be other kids to play with? Your cousins Diana and Marcus have children close to your age, Beckett answered. They can't wait to meet you. A knock at the door interrupted us. Amanda stepped in, followed by an unexpected visitor, Angelina. My body tensed. What are you doing here? Please, she held up her hands. I come in peace. Sophie looked between us, clutching her teddy bear tighter. Angelina's expression softened as she looked at the little girl. You must be Sophie, she said gently. I'm Beckett's mother, which means... Well, I suppose I'm your grandmother. Sophie studied her carefully. Do you like dogs? A surprised laugh escaped Angelina's lips. Yes, actually. I have 2 golden retrievers. Can I meet them? If your parents agree. Angelina met my eyes. I'd like to talk. Properly. Amanda sensed the tension. Sophie, why don't we go get your other drawings to show everyone? Once they left, Angelina sat down heavily. Jolie died last night. My heart clenched. What? I was there, she continued. She asked to see me. We talked for hours about everything, about how fear of scandal destroyed her family, just like it almost destroyed ours. Tears rolled down her cheeks. She made me promise to do better, to be better, so here I am. Mother, Beckett started. No, let me finish. She pulled out an envelope. This is for Sophie, a college fund, and this, she handed me another envelope, is the deed to our beach house, for your new family. I stared at the papers in shock. Angelina. I was wrong, she whispered, about everything. Watching you fight for your dreams, seeing how my own children turned against my controlling ways. Jolie helped me see what really matters. The door opened as Sophie bounded back in, arms full of drawings. She stopped short, looking at our tears. Why is everyone sad? We're not sad, sweetheart, I said, wiping my eyes. Sometimes grown-ups cry when they're happy, too. Oh. She considered this, then walked over to Angelina. Want to see my dog drawings? I'm really good at dogs. Angelina laughed through her tears. I'd love to. As Sophie climbed into her new grandmother's lap, spreading out her artwork, I felt the last pieces of resentment melt away. This was what Jolie had fought for. Not revenge, but redemption. The adoption will be finalized next week, Amanda said from the doorway, though I think it's clear this family is already complete. Family, Sophie tested the word. And I get to stay forever? Forever and ever, Beckett promised. And we can get a dog? Yes, Angelina chimed in. I know a wonderful breeder. Actually, I interrupted, pulling up a photo on my phone. There's a rescue puppy at the shelter who needs a home. Want to meet her? Sophie's eyes lit up. Now? If everyone wants to come? I looked at Angelina questioningly. She stood, straightening her designer dress. Well, I suppose my reputation can handle being seen at a shelter, especially with my granddaughter. As we walked out together, Sophie between Beckett and me, Angelina following with the drawings, I felt Jolie's presence. She'd given us so much more than money. She'd given us the courage to rewrite our story. Ready for our next adventure? I asked Sophie. She grabbed my hand, then reached for Angelina's. Ready! And just like that, the wounds of the past began to heal, one small hand at a time. The autumn breeze carried the sound of laughter from the backyard as I finished arranging cookies on a platter. Through the kitchen window, I watched Sophie chasing her rescue puppy, Max, while Diana's and Marcus's kids took turns on the new swing set. Need help? Angelina appeared beside me, reaching for the lemonade pitcher. Thanks. I nodded toward the yard. Hard to believe this is the same family that nearly imploded a few months ago. Jolie would have loved this, she said softly, arranging glasses on a tray. All these children, all this joy. The doorbell rang. Ruby arrived with the final paperwork for the Thornton Wilkinson Foundation's first major project, a support center for adoptive families. Everything's approved, she announced, spreading the documents on the kitchen counter. Construction starts next month. Perfect timing. I signed where indicated. The inheritance money should be released from escrow tomorrow. Angelina peered at the plans. The playground design looks wonderful, though perhaps we could add... Mother, I warned playfully. Remember our agreement about backseat driving? She laughed, holding up her hands in surrender. Old habits die hard, but I'm learning. Sophie burst through the back door, Max at her heels. Mom, Grandma, Uncle Marcus is trying to fit on the kiddie swing. This, I have to see. Angelina grabbed her phone, hurrying outside. Mom, Sophie tugged my sleeve. Can I show everyone my special project now? I nodded. The project, a family photo wall she'd been working on for weeks, was her pride and joy. Everyone inside, she called out. Family meeting. They filtered in. Beckett, Diana, Marcus, looking slightly embarrassed, their spouses and children, Angelina and Ruby. Sophie led them to the living room where a sheet covered one wall. Ready? She gripped the sheet, practically bouncing with excitement. Ready! The cousins chorused. She pulled the sheet down, revealing dozens of framed photos. There was Jolie in her hospital bed, smiling despite her illness. Beckett and me with Sophie at the shelter, adopting Max. Diana's daughter teaching Sophie to ride a bike. Marcus pushing all the kids on the swings. Angelina baking cookies with Sophie and her cousins. But the centerpiece was different. A large drawing Sophie had made. It showed all of us, including a smiling angel that looked suspiciously like Jolie, watching from above. See? Sophie pointed proudly. This is our real family, not the one in those stuffy old portraits Grandma used to have. Angelina wrapped an arm around her granddaughter. You're absolutely right, sweetheart. This is much better than those old portraits. There's room for more, Sophie announced, for when our family gets bigger. Bigger? Beckett raised an eyebrow at me. I smiled, touching the envelope in my pocket, the one from the adoption agency about a sibling group of 2 who needed a home. Well, actually... Really? Sophie's eyes widened. More brothers or sisters? If everyone's okay with that, I looked at Angelina questioningly. She wiped away tears. I'll start baby-proofing the beach house immediately. Group hug, Sophie declared, and suddenly we were all tangled together, laughing and crying. Ruby snapped a photo. This one's definitely going on the wall. Later, as everyone enjoyed cookies in the backyard, Beckett found me in the kitchen. Happy? He asked, wrapping his arms around me. Look out there, I nodded toward our family. Angelina's teaching the kids some ridiculous society dance. Diana and Marcus are arguing about who gets to host Thanksgiving. Sophie's plotting to convince us to adopt every child and animal she meets. It's chaos. Perfect chaos, he agreed. You know what Jolie told me that last day in the hospital? I turned to face him. She said sometimes you have to break something completely to rebuild it stronger. She wasn't trying to destroy your mother's perfect family. She was making room for a real one. Mission accomplished, he kissed my forehead. A shriek of laughter drew our attention back outside. Angelina was now attempting to teach the foxtrot to Max, who seemed more interested in chasing his tail. Mom, Dad, Sophie called. Come quick, Grandma's dancing with the dog. We joined our family in the yard, under the warm sun and cool breeze, surrounded by the kind of love that no society rules or family reputation could contain. On Sophie's wall, Jolie smiled down at us all, her final gift still unfolding, the gift of choosing love over appearance, truth over pretense, and the messy beauty of real family over the cold perfection of false ones. Ready for more chaos? I whispered to Beckett, thinking of those two siblings waiting for a home. He squeezed my hand. With this family? Always. And in that moment, watching Sophie teach her cousins her own version of a society dance, which mostly involved spinning in circles until you fell down, I knew that sometimes the happiest endings don't come from maintaining perfect order, but from embracing perfect chaos.
The sound of Mia's fork scraping against her plate made my teeth ache, but it wasn't the noise that bothered me. It was watching my 10-year-old cousin push her food around, untouched, while my Aunt Sonia knocked back her third glass of wine. I'm Vivian, and I've spent too many Sunday dinners like this one, watching history repeat itself in the worst possible way. Mia, honey, aren't you hungry? I asked, trying to keep my voice light. The girl's dark circles told stories her mother wouldn't want anyone to hear. I'm fine, Mia mumbled, not meeting my eyes. Her shoulders hunched forward, making her already tiny frame look even smaller in her wrinkled uniform, the same one she'd worn to school 3 days ago. She's just being difficult, Sonia interrupted, waving her hand dismissively. All she does lately is mope around, just like her father before he left. I gripped my napkin under the table. Maybe she's tired. It's pretty late for a school night. Oh, please. Sonia rolled her eyes. Don't start with the parenting advice, Vivian. Not everyone can be as perfect as you. I'm not. I started, but my sister Lara kicked me under the table. Her warning look said it all. Don't make a scene. The ceiling fan whirred above us, pushing around stale air in Sonia's neglected dining room. A stack of unpaid bills peeked out from under a vase of wilted flowers. The whole house felt like it was holding its breath. Can I be excused? Mia asked quietly. Whatever, Sonia muttered, already reaching for the wine bottle again. Just keep it down. I have a headache. Mia slipped away like a shadow, and I counted to 10 in my head before speaking. She needs help with homework. I'll check on her. I found Mia in her room, sitting cross-legged on an unmade bed. The walls were bare except for a single photo, Mia and me at the beach last summer, both grinning with ice cream-stained faces. Hey, kiddo. I sat beside her, the mattress creaking under our combined weight. Rough day? She shrugged, picking at a loose thread on her skirt. Mum forgot to wash my other uniforms again. I could take them home and— No! Mia's eyes widened with panic. She'll get mad if she thinks I complained. My heart cracked a little more. What about breakfast? Did you eat this morning? Another shrug. There wasn't anything. It's okay, though. Jessica at school shares her lunch sometimes. I heard glass breaking downstairs, followed by Sonia's sharp laugh and Lara's murmured response. Some things never changed, except now there was a child caught in the crossfire. Listen, I said, pulling out my phone. I'm putting my number in your favorites. Any time, day or night, you call me if you need anything, promise? Mia nodded, but her eyes darted toward the door. She's coming. Sure enough, Sonia's unsteady footsteps approached. I quickly stood up, trying to look casual as she appeared in the doorway. What's this little meeting about? Sonia's words slurred slightly. Telling tales about Mommy. Just helping with math homework, I lied smoothly. Right. Sonia's laugh was bitter. Saint Vivienne, always trying to save everyone. Why don't you focus on your own sad, empty life instead of interfering with mine? Mom, please, Mia whispered. Bed now. Sonia pointed at Mia. And you, she turned to me. Get out of my house. I hesitated, looking at Mia. She gave me a tiny nod, our secret signal that she'd be okay. For tonight, at least. Downstairs, Lara was already gathering her things. Don't, she warned as I opened my mouth. Not here. We stepped into the cool night air and I waited until we reached my car before exploding. We can't keep pretending this is okay. What do you want to do? Lara asked tiredly. Call CPS again. They've been here 3 times and nothing's changed. Then we try something else. My hands shook as I gripped the steering wheel. I won't let her grow up like we did. I can't. Through the upstairs window, I saw Mia's small figure at the glass. She raised her hand in a wave, and something inside me solidified into steel. I'm getting her out, I said. Whatever it takes. Lara's sharp intake of breath told me she understood exactly what I meant. Viv, think about what you're saying. The family drama, the legal battles. Look at her, Lara. I nodded toward the window where Mia's silhouette had disappeared into darkness. Tell me she deserves this life. My sister said nothing, but her silence spoke volumes. As I started the car, my phone buzzed with a text from Mia. Thank you for coming tonight. 3 simple words that made my decision final. Whatever storm was coming, I was ready to weather it. For Mia, I would move mountains. Or tear them down completely. You're out of your mind, Lara said, pacing my kitchen the next morning. Her coffee sat untouched, growing cold. Taking Sonia to court, she'll destroy you. I pulled up my laptop, already typing custody lawyers near me, into the search bar. She can try. This isn't like when we were kids, Viv. You can't just swoop in and fix everything. Watch me. I clicked through profiles, making notes. Remember when she locked us in that closet for hours because we ruined her date night by existing? Lara's face paled. That was different. Was it? I spun my laptop around, showing her a photo from my phone. Look at this. I took it last week when I picked Mia up from school. Same uniform 3 days straight. No lunch. Teacher's note about falling asleep in class. Maybe she's just going through a phase. The sharp ring of my phone cut her off. Mia's name flashed on the screen. Vivian. Her voice was barely a whisper. Are you awake? I checked the time, 6:45 a.m. What's wrong, sweetie? Mom didn't come home last night. A pause, then. I'm hungry. Lara watched my face darken as I grabbed my keys. I'll be there in 10 minutes. Is the spare key still under the pot? Yes. But, Mia's voice cracked. What if she comes back while you're here? Then we'll deal with it. Lock your door until I get there. I ended the call and turned to Lara. Still think it's just a phase. She grabbed her purse. I'm coming with you. The drive to Sonia's house was tense. When we pulled up, I noticed empty wine bottles scattered across the front porch. The morning paper lay untouched in the dewy grass. Mia opened the door before we reached it, still in her pajamas. Her hair was a tangled mess, her eyes red-rimmed. When did she leave? I asked, following her into the kitchen. After you guys. She said she was meeting friends. Mia climbed onto a counter stool while I rummaged through nearly empty cabinets. I fell asleep waiting. Lara started cleaning dishes in the sink. Did she call? Mia shook her head. Her phone goes straight to voicemail. I finally found some eggs and bread that hadn't expired. How about French toast? For the first time that morning, Mia smiled. With cinnamon? Extra cinnamon, I promised, heating up the pan. And while it cooks, maybe you can help me understand something. What? How often does this happen? Your mum going out all night? Mia's smile faded. She picked at a loose thread on her sleeve. a nervous habit I recognized from my own childhood. Sometimes, she mumbled. More since Dad left. Lara stopped washing dishes, her back stiffening. I kept my voice gentle. And what do you do when she's gone? Wait, try to sleep. Mia's eyes filled with tears. Sometimes I pretend I'm at your house instead. The front door slammed open before I could respond. Sonia stumbled in, mascara smeared under her eyes, still wearing last night's clothes. What the hell is this? She slurred, gripping the doorframe. Breaking into my house? Mia called us, I said, stepping between them. She was alone all night. Mind your own business. Sonia lurched forward. Mia, go to your room. She hasn't eaten yet, I argued. I said go to your room. Mia slipped off the stool, shooting me a desperate look before disappearing upstairs. Get out, Sonia hissed. Both of you. Or what? I stepped closer. You'll call the cops? Tell them how you left your 10-year-old daughter alone all night while you got drunk? You bitter, jealous bitch. Sonia laughed harshly. Still can't stand that your mother chose me over you, can you? Lara grabbed my arm as I tensed. Viv, don't. That's right, Sonia taunted. Listen to your sister. Leave my family alone. Family? I yanked free from Lara's grip. You don't deserve that word, and you don't deserve Mia. Threats now? Sonia's eyes narrowed. Try it. See what happens. My phone buzzed. A text from Mia upstairs. Please don't leave me. This isn't over, I promised, heading for the door. Lara followed, shooting worried glances between us. Outside, the morning sun felt too bright, too cheerful for what had just happened. I could hear Sonia throwing something inside, her muffled curses carrying through the walls. Now do you understand? I asked Lara. I'm calling Nadine today. Your lawyer friend? Lara bit her lip. Viv, this could get ugly. It's already ugly. I started the car, my hands steady despite the rage burning in my chest. The difference is, now I'm going to do something about it. As we pulled away, I saw Mia watching from her window again. This time, when she waved, I made a silent promise. Hold on, kiddo. Help is coming. Nadine's office smelled like coffee and determination. She studied the photos I'd spread across her desk, Mia's unwashed uniforms, the empty kitchen cabinets. Sonia passed out on the couch while Mia did homework alone. You've been documenting everything? Nadine asked, shuffling through the evidence. For months. I pulled out my phone. I have videos too, and texts from Mia. Smart. Nadine leaned back in her chair. But custody cases are messy, Viv, especially when you're going against a biological parent. I know the odds. I met her eyes. I also know you've won cases with less. She smiled slightly. True, but... A knock interrupted us. Nadine's assistant poked her head in. Sorry, but there's someone here insisting on seeing Ms. Garcia. Says he's a neighbour. My heart dropped. Tall guy, dark hair. That's him. Reed, I sighed. He lives next door. His daughter plays with Mia sometimes. Nadine raised an eyebrow. Want me to send him away? No, let him in. I'd been avoiding him since Sunday's disaster. Might as well face the music. Reed entered, looking apologetic. Sorry to interrupt, I've been trying to reach you. I know. I gestured to the chair beside me. Sit. This is Nadine, my lawyer. Lawyer? Reed's expression shifted from concerned to alarmed. Is this about Sunday? Because I heard the shouting and I was worried. You heard. My face burned. Half the neighbourhood did. He ran a hand through his hair. Look, I know it's none of my business, but Mia's been coming over more lately. Sophie, my daughter. She tells me things. Nadine leaned forward. What kind of things? That Mia's often hungry, sometimes scared. Reed looked at me. Last week she slept over because her mom didn't come home. I wanted to say something, but it's complicated, I finished. Not anymore. Nadine pulled out a legal pad. Mr. Reed Davidson. Mr. Davidson, would you be willing to make a formal statement about what you've witnessed? He nodded without hesitation. Whatever helps Mia. My phone buzzed. Another text from Lara. Sonia's looking for a lawyer too. She knows something's up. We need to move fast, I told Nadine, before she can hide anything. Already on it. Nadine typed rapidly on her computer. I'm filing for emergency temporary custody today. Reed's statement will help, especially since he's an unbiased witness. Unbiased? Reed's laugh was soft. Hardly. I've seen how Vivienne is with Mia. How she drops everything to help, brings groceries, checks homework. He turned to me. You're more of a mother to that girl than Sonia ever was. Something warm flickered in my chest, but before I could respond, my phone rang. Mia's ringtone. Hey, kiddo. Aren't you in school? I'm in the nurse's office. Her voice trembled. Mum forgot to pack lunch again, and I got dizzy in PE. I was already standing, gathering my things. I'll be right there. No. Mia's whisper turned urgent. Mum said if I called you again, she'd send me to live with Dad in Oregon. The room went silent. Reed's face darkened. Nadine started writing furiously. Mia! I kept my voice steady. Your dad left the country 3 years ago. He's in Australia, remember? A pause. But she said, She lied, sweetie. Stay in the nurse's office. I'm coming. I ended the call, hands shaking with rage. There's your evidence, Nadine. She's using threats now. This is good, Nadine said, still writing. Well, not good, but useful. Reed, can you sign this statement now? We'll file everything this afternoon. He grabbed a pen. Whatever you need. I'll drive you to the school, Reed offered as we left Nadine's office. You're in no state to drive. He was right. My hands wouldn't stop trembling. In his car, Reed glanced at me. You know, Sophie asks about Mia every day. Wants her to live with us instead. Us? Well, near us. In your house. He smiled slightly. The girls have it all planned out. Sleepovers every weekend, matching room decorations. Despite everything, I laughed. They're getting ahead of themselves. Maybe. Reed stopped at a red light. Or maybe they see what's right more clearly than we do. The school came into view and my humour faded. This is going to get worse before it gets better, isn't it? Probably. Reed parked the car. But you're not in it alone anymore. I looked at him, really looked, and saw the same determination I felt. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. He nodded toward the school entrance where Sonia's car had just pulled up. The storm's about to hit. I took a deep breath and opened the door, then let it come. The courthouse hallway buzzed with tension. Sonia sat across from me wearing a dress that probably cost more than my monthly rent, her hair and makeup perfect. The mask of the devoted mother. All rise, the bailiff called. Judge Morris entered, her eyes sharp as she surveyed the room. Nadine squeezed my hand before we stood. Custody hearing for minor child Mia Olsen, the judge announced. I understand we have an emergency petition. Sonia's lawyer, a slick man in an expensive suit, spoke first. Your Honour, this is a frivolous claim by a distant relative trying to break up a loving family. Loving? Nadine stood. We have documented evidence of neglect spanning months. Circumstantial, Sonia's lawyer countered. My client is a single mother doing her best. Her best? I couldn't help myself. She left her 10-year-old alone all night. Ms. Garcia, Judge Morris warned. Please address the court through your counsel. Nadine pulled out our evidence files. Your Honour, we have witness statements, school records, and photographic evidence of ongoing neglect. The judge reviewed the materials, her frown deepening. Sonia leaned over to whisper something to her lawyer. We call Mia's teacher Ms. Roberts, Nadine announced. The teacher took the stand, looking nervous but determined. Mia often comes to school in unwashed uniforms. She falls asleep in class regularly and rarely has lunch. And has Ms. Olsen responded to your concerns? She doesn't answer calls or attend parent meetings. Sonia's lawyer stood. Perhaps Ms. Olsen works hard to provide for her daughter. Not everyone can afford designer clothes. She spent $3,000 on a purse last month, I muttered. Nadine shot me a warning look. Next witness, Judge Morris called. Reed approached the stand, looking more formal than I'd ever seen him. He described finding Mia alone late at night, the times she came to his house hungry. And you live next door? The judge asked. Yes, Your Honour. My daughter and Mia are close friends, Sonia's lawyer pounced. How close are you with Ms. Garcia? Objection, Nadine stood. Relevance. I'm establishing potential bias, Your Honor. I'll allow it. Reed met my eyes briefly. We're neighbours. Friends. Just friends? The lawyer smirked. No romantic involvement that might motivate false testimony. My testimony is true, Reed said firmly, and my concern is for Mia's welfare. The morning dragged on with more witnesses. School nurses, neighbours. Each account made Sonia's face darker with rage. Then came the surprise I'd been dreading. We call Lara Garcia to the stand. My sister walked forward, not meeting my eyes. Sonia looked triumphant. Ms. Garcia, her lawyer began, tell us about your sister's childhood. Objection, Nadine stood. Relevance. Goes to character, Your Honour. Proceed. Lara gripped the stand. What do you want to know? Did your sister have trouble with authority, rebellion, violence? My stomach dropped. They were going to bring up the incident. Vivian protected me, Lara said quietly, when we lived with Sonia after our mom left. Please answer the question. Yes, Lara's voice cracked. She got into fights, but only because she was violent, unstable? No, Lara's composure broke. Because Sonia locked us in closets, because she'd leave us alone for days, because when I was Mia's age, Vivian was the only one who made sure I ate. The courtroom fell silent. Judge Morris leaned forward. Are you saying Ms. Olsen abused you as children? Objection, Sonia's lawyer shouted. These are unfounded accusations from decades ago. They're true, Lara continued, tears streaming now. And she's doing the same thing to Mia. The only difference is this time, Vivian can actually do something about it. Sonia stood up, screaming, You ungrateful little... Order! Judge Morris banged her gavel. Ms. Olsen, control yourself or I'll have you removed. Nadine handed the judge another file. We have police reports from that period, Your Honour. Never prosecuted because the girls were too afraid to testify. I watched Sonia's perfect mask crack. She lunged toward Lara, but bailiffs stepped between them. This is a set-up, she shrieked. They're lying. I'm a good mother. Remove Ms. Olsen, Judge Morris ordered. As they led Sonia out, she turned to me. Court will recess for 1 hour while I review these new materials. In the hallway, Lara collapsed into my arms. I'm sorry, she sobbed. I couldn't let her win again. Don't be sorry. I held her tight, feeling 16 again, protecting my little sister. You did good. Reed appeared with water bottles and tissues. You okay? Before I could answer, Nadine rushed over. Judge wants to see us in chambers. Now. I looked at Lara, then Reed. Whatever happens, go, they said together. Walking toward the judge's chambers, I heard Sonia's voice echo down the hall. I'll destroy you for this. But for the first time since this started, I wasn't afraid. The truth was finally coming out, and no amount of designer dresses or expensive lawyers could hide it anymore. Judge Morris's chambers felt smaller than I expected. She gestured for Nadine and me to sit, while Sonia's lawyer hovered by the door. Off the record, the judge began, removing her glasses. Ms. Garcia, are you prepared for what temporary custody would mean? Absolutely. It's not just about providing a home. She leaned forward. There will be trauma, therapy, school adjustments. Your life will change completely. It already has. I met her gaze. The moment I realized history was repeating itself. A knock interrupted us. The bailiff entered, looking concerned. Your Honour, Ms. Olsen is making a scene in the lobby. News crews are arriving. Of course they are, Nadine muttered. We followed Judge Morris back to the courtroom, where the tension had shifted. Sonia stood before a small crowd of reporters, tears streaming perfectly down her cheeks. They're trying to steal my baby, she sobbed. I'm just a single mother doing my best, and they're punishing me for working hard to provide for my daughter. The cameras ate it up. Lara grabbed my arm as we passed. She's playing the victim. Again. Let her, I said, but my stomach churned. Back in session, Sonia's performance continued. I admit I'm not perfect, she sniffled, but I love my daughter. These allegations are just jealous attacks from people who don't understand how hard it is. Her lawyer presented character witnesses, her hairdresser, a grocery store clerk, even her yoga instructor, all testifying to what a devoted mother she appeared to be. Then came the bomb. "Your Honor," Sonia's lawyer announced, "we have evidence that Ms. Garcia's interest in custody is financially motivated." "What?" I whispered to Nadine. He produced documents with a flourish. Mia's father left a substantial trust fund, one that becomes accessible to her legal guardian. The courtroom erupted in whispers. Judge Morris banged her gavel. "Order! This is ridiculous," Nadine argued. "My client wasn't even aware of any trust fund." "Really?" Sonia's lawyer smirked. "Then why did she access trust fund documents 3 months ago?" My blood ran cold. I had looked up those documents, not for money, but trying to locate Mia's father in Australia. But how did they know? "Someone's been watching you," Nadine whispered. The door burst open. Reed rushed in, holding his phone. "Your Honor, I have something you need to see." "This is highly irregular," Sonia's lawyer protested. "Approach," Judge Morris ordered. Reed played a video, security footage from his home camera. It showed Sonia stumbling up my driveway at midnight, trying to break into my house. The timestamp was last night. "She's been stalking my client," Nadine said, "attempting burglary." "I was concerned," Sonia shouted. "She's poisoning my daughter against me." "By providing food and clean clothes," I stood up. "By being there when you're not?" "Ms. Garcia," Judge Morris warned. "No, let her talk," Sonia sneered. "Tell everyone how perfect you are, how you've never made mistakes. Should we discuss what really happened when we were younger, the real reason your mother left?" "Don't," Lara called from the gallery. "Sonia, please." But Sonia was on a roll. Sweet little Vivian, always the hero. "Did you tell them about the fire? About what you did?" The room went silent. Judge Morris leaned forward. "What fire?" I closed my eyes, feeling 16 again. "I set her bedroom on fire," I admitted. "After she locked Lara in the closet for 2 days. I wanted her to feel trapped, too." "See?" Sonia pointed triumphantly. "She's dangerous." "I was a child," I said quietly, trying to protect my sister the only way I knew how. Now I'm an adult, trying to protect Mia the right way. Through the law. Judge Morris studied me for a long moment. "Mr. Davidson, how did you obtain this security footage?" "I installed cameras after my wife died," Reed explained, "to keep my daughters safe. I never expected to catch something like this." "And you're willing to testify that this footage is authentic?" "Yes, Your Honor." The judge nodded slowly. "I've seen enough. Given the evidence of ongoing neglect, attempted burglary, and witness testimony, I'm granting temporary emergency custody to Ms. Garcia, pending a full investigation." Sonia lunged forward. "You can't." "I can, and I am." Judge Morris's voice cut through the chaos. "Ms. Olson, your visitation rights will be supervised until you complete parenting classes and substance abuse counseling." "This isn't over," Sonia hissed at me. "You're right," I replied. "It's just beginning." As bailiffs escorted Sonia out, I felt Lara's arms around me. Reed stood nearby, a small smile on his face. "We did it," Nadine said, gathering her files. "But she's right. This isn't over. The real work starts now." I nodded, watching Sonia's retreating figure. The truth about the fire was out, but somehow I felt lighter. Sometimes the past needs to burn for the future to grow from the ashes. "Let's go get Mia," I said. "She's waited long enough for someone to choose her first." Picking Mia up from school felt different this time. She stood on the steps, clutching her backpack, eyes wide as I approached with the court paperwork in hand. "Is it real?" she whispered. "The principal said I'm coming home with you?" "It's real." I knelt to her level. "But only if that's what you want." She threw herself into my arms, her small body shaking. Other parents stared, but I didn't care. "What about my stuff?" she asked against my shoulder. "We'll get it tomorrow. Right now, let's go home." The word felt strange, hopeful and terrifying all at once. As we walked to the car, Reed and Sophie waited by their vehicle. Surprise! Sophie bounced on her toes. Dad said we could have a sleepover to celebrate. Mia looked up at me, uncertain. Can we? Of course. I smiled at Reed. But first, we need to get some essentials. The trip to Target felt like a dream. Mia clutched the shopping cart as we filled it with necessities. New pajamas, toiletries, school supplies. Sophie helped her pick out bright bedding covered in stars. Look, Mia held up a purple toothbrush. It matches your bathroom. My throat tightened. She'd been planning this, hoping for it. Reed appeared with pizza rolls and ice cream. Every new home needs junk food. And this. Sophie added a string of fairy lights to the cart. For when it feels scary at night, Mia's smile faltered. What if Mom comes? She can't, I assured her. The judge made sure of that. But, hey, Reed interrupted gently. Remember those cameras at my house? They watch your new home too. You're safe. At the checkout, Mia stared at the total. That's so much money. Don't worry about that. I swiped my card. You're worth every penny. Back home, our home now, Sophie helped Mia set up her room while Reed and I made dinner. The kitchen felt alive with voices and laughter. This is nice, Reed said quietly, chopping vegetables. Seeing them both so happy. It is. I paused, listening to the girls giggle upstairs. Thank you for the security footage. It made a difference. I installed those cameras after Maria died, he admitted. Kept seeing threats everywhere. Turns out I wasn't paranoid enough. Before I could respond, my phone buzzed. Lara's text made my blood freeze. Sonia's doing interviews. Turn on the news. Reed grabbed the remote. There she was, perfectly posed on the local news, playing the victim. They've torn my family apart, she sobbed. My own niece, who I practically raised, stealing my daughter. That's not true. Mia appeared in the doorway, trembling. She didn't raise anybody. I quickly turned off the TV. Hey, it's okay. She can't hurt us with lies. But people will believe her. Some might, Reed said, pulling out his phone, but not for long. Sophie, bring your tablet down here. The girls gathered around as Reed pulled up social media. Neighbours were already commenting on Sonia's interview, sharing their own stories. Remember when she left Mia at the bus stop for 3 hours? How about the time she showed up drunk to the school play? I've been giving Mia lunch money all semester. See? Sophie nudged Mia. Everyone knows the truth. My phone buzzed again. Nadine this time. Sonia's interviews might actually help us. She's contradicting her court testimony. Keep recording everything. The evening settled into a gentle rhythm. We made pizza, built a blanket fort in the living room, and watched movies until both girls fell asleep. I should get Sophie home, Reed whispered, but made no move to leave. Stay, I found myself saying. There's room in the fort, he smiled, trying to create more evidence for Sonia's cameras. Let her watch. I looked at Mia, peaceful in sleep. Let her see what a real family looks like. A noise outside made us both tense. Reed checked his phone. The security app showed Sonia's car driving past, slow and menacing. Third time tonight, he muttered. She's trying to scare us. Is it working? I watched Mia snuggle closer to Sophie, their hands clasped even in sleep. No, not anymore. Reed's hand found mine in the dim light. Good, because tomorrow's another battle. What do you mean? School called. Sonia's trying to get Mia transferred out of district. I squeezed his hand. She won't win. No, he agreed. She won't. Outside, Sonia's car passed again, headlights sweeping across the windows. But inside our blanket fort, wrapped in new star-covered blankets, and the warmth of friendship becoming something more, we were untouchable. The war wasn't over, but tonight we had peace. Tonight, we had home. The final custody hearing arrived too quickly and not soon enough. 3 months of supervised visits, therapy sessions, and Sonia's escalating behaviour had led to this moment. All rise, the bailiff called. Judge Morris looked tired as she took her seat. The past months had brought weekly emergency motions from Sonia's lawyer. All denied. Before we begin, the judge announced, I've reviewed Dr. Palmer's psychological evaluations of all parties. Sonia straightened in her chair, wearing another expensive outfit. She'd been posting daily about her journey to wellness on social media, carefully crafted posts about recovery and motherhood. Ms. Olson, Judge Morris continued, your counsellor reports you've attended only 2 of 12 required sessions. I've been busy with work, Sonia protested. I'm trying to provide... By getting fired from 3 jobs, Nadine interrupted, presenting documents. Your Honour, Ms. Olson's employment records show a pattern of absences and inappropriate behaviour. Objection, Sonia's lawyer stood. My client's employment is not relevant. Overruled, Judge Morris reviewed the papers. This goes directly to stability and ability to provide. Nadine called her first witness, Mia's therapist. How is Mia adjusting? Nadine asked. Remarkably well, Dr. Roberts smiled. Her grades have improved, she's sleeping better, and she's forming healthy friendships. And her relationship with Ms. Garcia. Strong, nurturing, exactly what Mia needs. They've developed healthy boundaries and communication. Sonia's lawyer pounced. Isn't it true that Mia shows signs of alienation from her mother? No, Dr. Roberts said firmly. Mia's hesitation around her mother stems from past trauma, not current influence. The morning continued with more witnesses. Teachers described Mia's transformation from withdrawn to engaged. The custody supervisor detailed Sonia's erratic behaviour during visits. Then Nadine played her ace. Your Honour, we have new evidence. She handed over a USB drive. Security footage from last week. The courtroom screen flickered to life. There was Sonia, clearly intoxicated, trying to break into my house at 2 a.m. Mia's bedroom light came on. My voice called out through the security system. The police are on their way. Sonia on screen screamed, She's my daughter. You can't keep her from me. Then she threw a bottle at the camera. The current Sonia jumped up. That's edited. She's framing me. Sit down, Judge Morris ordered. Officer Brady, please approach. The responding officer testified about finding Sonia that night, her blood alcohol level, the threats she'd made. She said she'd burn the house down, Officer Brady reported. With everyone inside. The room went silent. I felt Reed's hand on my shoulder from the row behind me. Your Honour, Nadine said quietly, given Ms. Olson's history with fire-related threats. That was different, Sonia shrieked. Vivian's the one who set fires. Tell them about the closet, about what really happened that night. Judge Morris leaned forward. Ms. Olson, are you admitting to locking children in closets? Sonia's lawyer looked ready to faint. They deserved it. Sonia was losing control. Just like Mia deserves, like she needs discipline. You're all turning her against me. Remove Ms. Olson, Judge Morris ordered. As bailiffs approached, Sonia grabbed her water glass and threw it, not at me, but at Mia, who sat with her therapist in the back. Reed moved faster than I thought possible, shielding Mia as glass shattered. The room erupted in chaos. Order! Judge Morris's gavel cracked like thunder. Ms. Olson, you are held in contempt. Officer Brady, take her into custody. As they dragged Sonia out, she screamed, You'll never be her mother, never! Court will recess for 15 minutes, Judge Morris announced. I rushed to Mia, but she was already wrapped in Reed's arms, surprisingly calm. I'm okay, she said. I knew she couldn't really hurt me anymore. How? I asked, checking her for cuts despite her protests. Mia looked at Reed, then me. Because now I have real parents. The words hit like a tidal wave. Reed's eyes met mine, full of something we hadn't dared name yet. When court resumed, Sonia was absent, but her lawyer remained, looking defeated. Judge Morris didn't waste time. Given the evidence presented, including today's disturbing display, I'm awarding full permanent custody to Ms. Garcia, with no visitation rights for Ms. Olson until completion of extensive psychiatric treatment. The words took a moment to sink in. Full custody. Permanent. Furthermore, the judge continued, I'm granting Ms. Garcia's petition to begin adoption proceedings. Mia launched herself into my arms. Behind us, Reed and Sophie cheered. Even Nadine wiped away tears. It's real, Mia whispered, just like that first day at school. Forever. Forever, I promised, holding her close. No more looking back. Through the courthouse windows, I saw Sonia being led to a police car. She'd chosen her path long ago. Now we were choosing ours, together. The adoption paperwork sat on my kitchen table, waiting for the final signatures. Mia traced her fingers over the words "petition for adoption," while Sophie bounced excitedly beside her. "After this, you'll really be cousins," Reed said, setting down hot chocolate for both girls. "We already are," Sophie declared. "The paper just makes it official." Lara arrived with a cake, the words "Welcome home forever" written in purple icing. "Ready for the big moment?" "Almost." Mia bit her lip. "Can I ask something first?" "Anything," I said. "What if—" She took a deep breath. "What if Mom gets better, really better?" The room went quiet. Through the window, I could see our reflection. All of us gathered around the table, a scene so different from those Sunday dinners at Sonia's. "Then that would be good," I said carefully. "But it wouldn't change this. You're my daughter now, by choice and by love." "And mine," Reed added softly. We all turned to look at him. He cleared his throat, pulling something from his pocket. Actually, I was going to wait, but maybe this is the perfect time. He placed a small box next to the adoption papers. "If you both want it." My hands shook as I opened it. 2 rings, one sized for an adult, one for a child. "Dad," Sophie squealed, "you did it." "You knew?" I asked her. "We both did," Mia admitted. "We helped pick them out." Reed knelt beside our chairs. "I know it's fast, but when you know, you know. We could be a real family, all of us." "We already are," Mia echoed Sophie's words. "The papers just make it official." Lara wiped tears away, fumbling for her phone. "Mom needs to see this." "Mom?" I turned, surprised. "You're talking to her?" "She called last week. Said watching Sonia made her realize some things." Lara shrugged. "People can change if they want to badly enough." The doorbell rang. Nadine stood outside with the court clerk, looking professional but failing to hide her smile. "Ready to make this legal?" she asked. We gathered around the table, not just for signatures, but for a beginning. Mia signed first, her new name careful and proud. I signed next, then Reed and Sophie added their witnesses' signatures. "Now the rings?" Sophie asked impatiently. "Now the rings," Reed agreed. He slipped the smaller one onto Mia's finger, then held the other out to me. "What do you say? Ready to be a family on paper too?" "Yes," I whispered. "All of it. Yes." The clerk stamped the final papers while Lara cut the cake. Through the kitchen window, I saw a familiar car drive past, Sonia, keeping her court-mandated distance. But this time Mia didn't flinch. She was too busy showing her ring to Sophie, planning their now official shared bedroom decorations. "She'll be okay," Reed murmured, following my gaze. "Better than okay." "I know." I squeezed his hand. "Because she has all of us." Nadine raised her hot chocolate. "To new beginnings?" "To family," Mia corrected. "The kind you choose." "And fight for," I added. "And build together," Reed finished. Outside, Sonia's car disappeared around the corner. Maybe someday she'd find her way back to herself. Maybe she'd get the help she needed. But that wasn't our story anymore. Our story was here, in this kitchen filled with laughter, in Sophie and Mia's matching rings, in Reed's arm around my waist, in the adoption papers that made official what our hearts already knew. "Mom!" Mia's voice was strong and sure. "Can we have a sleepover in the living room? All of us?" "With the fairy lights," Sophie added. "With everything," I promised. Later, surrounded by blankets and twinkling lights, I watched our daughters whisper and giggle themselves to sleep. Reed traced patterns on my hand, our rings catching the soft light. "No regrets?" he asked. I thought about the long road here, the court battles, the late-night fears, the moments of doubt. Then I looked at Mia's peaceful face, at Sophie's protective arm around her sister, at the family we'd built from broken pieces. "Not one," I said. The security cameras blinked quietly, guarding our peace. But we didn't need them anymore. Our strength wasn't in locks or laws or distance. It was in these moments, these choices, these bonds we'd forged in fire and love. Mia stirred slightly. "Love you, Mom," she mumbled. "Love you too, sweetie," I whispered. "Forever." "Forever," Reed echoed, pulling us closer. Outside, the world kept turning, but in our blanket fort, under fairy lights and promises, we were already home. This was our victory, not over Sonia, but for ourselves, for the family we chose, the love we built, and the future we would write together one day at a time. The manila envelope hit my kitchen table with a dull thud that seemed to echo through my entire body. My father-in-law Ian's perfectly manicured hand rested on top of it, his gold wedding band catching the morning light. "This house will be ours by the month's end," he said, lips curling into what I can only describe as a predatory smile. "And Travis will finally have a proper family. I'm Zoe, and until 6 months ago, I thought I understood what family meant. Then my husband Casey died in a car accident, and his parents showed their true colours, faster than autumn leaves turning brown. Travis has a proper family," I said, my hands gripping the back of my kitchen chair so hard my knuckles turned white. "He has me." Deborah, my mother-in-law, gave that little laugh of hers, the one that sounds like wind chimes made of ice. "Dear, you can barely afford the property taxes on this house. How do you expect to raise our grandson on a teacher's salary?" I glanced toward the stairs, grateful that Travis was at kindergarten. He didn't need to witness this ambush. "I managed just fine. Casey left us well provided for." "Did he?" Ian slid the envelope toward me. "Because according to these documents, the house was never properly transferred into your name. A terrible oversight." My hands trembled as I opened the envelope. Inside were property documents, legal papers, and what appeared to be a notice of eviction. The dates, signatures, everything looked official, but something felt off. "This is impossible," I said, scanning the papers. "Casey and I signed the deed transfer together last year." "Clearly there was an error in processing," Ian said, straightening his designer tie. "These things happen. But don't worry, Ian. We'll make sure Travis maintains his standard of living." "By taking him away from his mother?" My voice cracked, but I forced myself to meet Ian's gaze. "He's 5 years old. He needs me." Deborah moved closer, her expensive perfume suffocating me. "We have resources, Zoe. The best lawyers, character witnesses, financial statements showing your inadequacies as a provider. Do you really want to put Travis through a lengthy court battle?" "Get out!" The words came out barely above a whisper. "Excuse me?" Ian's smile vanished. "I said get out of my house." I straightened up, finding strength I didn't know I had. "Now." Ian gathered his coat, that smug expression returning. "Our lawyer will be in touch. Do consider what's best for Travis. A settlement could make this easier for everyone." After they left, I sank into my chair, the papers scattered before me like fallen soldiers. My phone buzzed. A text from my sister Andrea. "How did it go?" I snapped a photo of the documents and sent it to her. Within seconds, my phone rang. "These look suspicious," Andrea said without preamble. "The notary stamp is dated for a Sunday. Government offices are closed on Sundays, Zoe." Hope flickered in my chest. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying don't sign anything. Don't agree to anything. I'm coming over after work and we're going through every piece of paper Casey ever touched." I ended the call and walked to the living room where Casey's photo sat on the mantel. He was smiling, holding Travis on his shoulders at the beach last summer. "Your parents are trying to take everything we built," I whispered to his image. "But I won't let them. I promise." My phone buzzed again. A reminder to pick up Travis from school. I grabbed my keys, but before leaving I gathered every document Ian had left and locked them in my home office. Something about those papers nagged at me, like a loose thread begging to be pulled. As I drove to Travis's school, I thought about Casey's last words to me. "Keep an eye on Dad's paperwork." At the time, I'd assumed he was delirious from his injuries. Now, I wondered if he'd been trying to warn me. I arrived at the school just as the children were being dismissed. Travis ran to me, his backpack bouncing, dark curls wild from play. "Mommy, I drew a dinosaur today." I hugged him tight, breathing in his familiar scent of crayons and apple juice. That's wonderful, baby. Why don't you tell me all about it on the way home? As he chatted excitedly in the back seat, I made a silent vow. Ian and Deborah might have money and influence, but I had something stronger. The truth that Casey tried to share, hidden somewhere in our home. And I was going to find it. Andrea spread the documents across my dining room table while Isla paced behind us, her heels clicking against the hardwood floor. The house was quiet. Travis had finally fallen asleep upstairs after an hour of just one more story, Mommy. Look at this, Andrea said, pointing to a line on the eviction notice. The property ID number doesn't match your deed. It's off by 1 digit. Isla leaned over our shoulders. Could that be just a typo? A typo on legal documents that could determine custody of a child? Andrea shook her head. No way! This was rushed. Sloppy work. I reached for my coffee, now cold from hours of document review. So they're definitely forged? Oh, they're forged all right, Andrea confirmed, her lawyer mode in full swing. But proving it in court, that's another matter. Ian has connections with every major law firm in the city. Except yours, Isla pointed out. Andrea smiled grimly. True, but I'm just starting out, going against someone like Rodney Hudson. He's been winning custody battles since I was in middle school. My stomach churned at the mention of Ian's attorney. I'd only met him once at Casey's funeral, where he'd handed me his business card with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. There has to be something else, I said, standing up to stretch. Casey... He tried to tell me something about Ian's paperwork before he died. Isla stopped pacing. What exactly did he say? Just to keep an eye on his dad's paperwork. He was in and out of consciousness at the hospital, so I didn't. My voice caught. I didn't think much of it then. Where did Casey keep his work stuff? Andrea asked, already heading toward my home office. Most of it's in boxes in the garage, I said, following her. He was always bringing work home, especially in the last few months before the accident. The garage was cold and smelled of cardboard and motor oil. 3 large boxes marked work sat in the corner, untouched since Casey's death. I couldn't bring myself to go through them before. Start with the most recent, Andrea instructed, pulling out her phone to use as a flashlight. We began sorting through papers, financial reports, meeting minutes, investment portfolios. Most of it looked like standard business documents, until Isla held up a USB drive. Found this taped to the bottom of a folder, she said. Andrea plugged it into her laptop, and we huddled around the screen. Most files were encrypted, but one opened, a spreadsheet showing wire transfers to offshore accounts. Holy shit, Andrea whispered. These amounts, they're massive. And look at the dates. They align perfectly with the company's major property acquisitions. What does that mean? I asked, though I was starting to understand. It means, Andrea said slowly, that Ian might have been cooking the books, inflating purchase prices, skimming off the top. This could be evidence of serious fraud. My phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. My blood ran cold as I read it. Back off now, or Travis won't be the only thing you lose. I showed it to Andrea and Isla. Save it, Andrea said immediately. Screenshot it, email it to yourself, everything. This is harassment. They're scared, Isla realized. They know you might have something on them. I sank onto a nearby workbench. What do I do? If they're willing to threaten me? You fight back, Andrea said firmly. These documents they're using against you. They're not just forged. They're desperate. Ian's trying to silence you before you figure out what Casey knew. But Travis is safer with you fighting than giving in, Isla interrupted. Think about it. If they're willing to do this to you, what would they teach him? She was right. I thought about Travis upstairs, peaceful in his race car bed, clutching the stuffed dinosaur Casey gave him for his last birthday. I thought about Ian's smug smile, Deborah's cold laugh, and Casey's final warning. Okay, I said, standing up straighter. What's our next move? Andrea was already typing on her laptop. First, we document everything. Then I have a friend in the DA's office who specializes in financial crimes. We need to move carefully, build our case before they realize what we have. I can help too, Isla added. My firm handles PR for half the judges in the circuit. I hear things. Could be useful to know which judges might be in Ian's pocket. For the first time since Ian dropped that envelope on my table, I felt hope. It wasn't just me against them anymore. I had allies, evidence, and most importantly, the truth on my side. Casey knew, I said softly. He was trying to expose them, wasn't he? Andrea squeezed my hand. And now you'll finish what he started. We worked through the night, organizing documents and building our case. Somewhere above us, Travis slept soundly, unaware that his mother was preparing for the fight of her life. The attic was stifling even at midnight. I shifted another dusty box, my flashlight beam catching cobwebs and forgotten memories. Travis was at a sleepover with his best friend. The first night I'd let him out of my sight since Ian's threats began. Casey, where did you hide it? I whispered, remembering his odd behavior in the weeks before the accident. He'd spent hours up here claiming to be organizing old files. My hand brushed against something solid behind a stack of photo albums. A leather-bound journal, its spine cracked with age. I'd never seen it before. My phone rang, making me jump. Andrea's name flashed on the screen. They filed the custody papers, she said without preamble. Hearing set for 3 weeks from now. 3 weeks? My voice echoed in the empty attic. That's too soon. They're pushing for emergency custody, claiming you're mentally unstable from grief. Andrea's voice hardened. They've got a psychiatrist ready to testify. A psychiatrist who's never even met me, I'm guessing. Probably on Ian's payroll. Papers shuffled on her end. Have you found anything useful up there? I opened the journal, my flashlight illuminating Casey's familiar handwriting. Maybe. I found some kind of diary. Hold on. The first few entries were mundane. Business meetings, lunch appointments. Then, halfway through, Dad's been moving money again. Same pattern as before. Need to track the transfers. Andrea, I said, my heart racing. Listen to this. Found proof of the shell companies. Everything leads back to the Cayman accounts. Key in office safe. Key? What key? I flipped through more pages, scanning entries. Wait, there's more. Dad threatened to cut me out if I don't stay quiet. Told him I have copies of everything. He doesn't know where. The USB drive we found isn't enough, Andrea said. We need those copies. A loose photograph fell from between the pages. Casey in his office, standing next to a large painting of a sailboat. I'd always hated that painting. He'd insisted on hanging it despite it clashing with everything else in the room. I need to check something, I said, hurrying down the attic stairs. Call you back. In Casey's office, the painting hung exactly as he'd left it. I'd never moved it. Couldn't bring myself to change anything in here. Now I lifted it carefully from the wall. Behind it was a small wall safe. Clever, Casey, I whispered, running my fingers along the edges. But where was the key? I returned to the journal, reading more carefully. One entry caught my eye. Moved everything to the new safe. Key's where we first met, she'll understand. Where we first met. My mind raced back 7 years to that little coffee shop downtown. Casey had been reading a book. I ran to our bedroom bookshelf, pulling out his old copy of The Great Gatsby. There, pressed between the pages, was a small silver key. My hands shook as I called Andrea. I found it, I said. But I haven't opened the safe yet. Should I wait? No, she said firmly. We need to know what we're dealing with. Put me on speaker. The key slid in perfectly. Inside the safe were folders, USB drives, and a sealed envelope with my name on it. There's so much here, I said, spreading the contents on Casey's desk. Financial records, photographs of documents. Andrea, these look like private banking records from the Cayman Islands. Take photos of everything right now, then pack it all up and bring it to my office first thing tomorrow. A car door slammed outside. I froze. Someone's here, I whispered. Get everything back in the safe, Andrea ordered. Now, text me when they're gone. I shoved the documents back, locked the safe, and barely had the painting back in place when the doorbell rang. My heart pounding, I went downstairs. Deborah stood on my porch, perfectly coiffed despite the late hour. Isn't it past your bedtime? I asked, not opening the screen door. We need to talk, she said, about Travis's future. There's nothing to talk about. She sighed dramatically. Ian's willing to be generous, Zoe. A substantial settlement. Enough for you to start fresh somewhere else. You mean enough to abandon my son? Be reasonable, she snapped, mask slipping. You can't win this. Ian never loses. I thought of the safe upstairs filled with Casey's careful documentation of their crimes. There's a first time for everything. After she left, I texted Andrea. Safe for now, but they're getting desperate. Her reply came instantly. Good. Desperate people make mistakes. Get some sleep. Tomorrow we go to war. I returned to Casey's office, touching the painting gently. You knew, didn't you? You were protecting us all along. For the first time since finding the journal, I opened the envelope with my name on it. Inside was a single sentence. Trust yourself. You're stronger than they know. Andrea's office buzzed with energy as she spread Casey's documents across her conference table. Isla sat beside me, taking notes on her laptop while Travis played with his toys in the corner, headphones on, watching cartoons on my iPad. This is incredible, Andrea said, holding up a document. Look at these signatures. Ian was authorizing transfers to fake companies, then routing the money back through personal accounts. In English, please, I said, glancing at Travis to make sure he wasn't listening. Your father-in-law was stealing from his own company, Isla translated. Millions of dollars hidden in offshore accounts. And Casey documented all of it, Andrea added. Bank statements, wire transfers, even photos of meetings with sketchy investors who were really just Ian's cronies. My hands trembled as I picked up another folder. Will it be enough? To stop the custody case? Absolutely. To send Ian to prison? Even better. The conference room door burst open. Rodney Hudson stood there, his expensive suit as impeccable as his timing was suspicious. Ladies, he said smoothly, having a little meeting. I moved to block Travis from view, but Rodney had already spotted him. Ah, young Travis. How convenient. I need to document his current living conditions anyway. Get out, Andrea snapped, standing. This is a private meeting. Private? With evidence pertaining to my client scattered all over the table. Rodney pulled out his phone. Mind if I take a few pictures? Isla stepped forward. Try it, and I'll have security up here so fast your head will spin. I'm still on the building's board of directors. Rodney's smile faltered slightly. Ian wanted me to deliver a message. A final offer. Walk away now. Take $2 million and we forget everything. Everything, I laughed, surprising myself with how cold it sounded. Like how Ian embezzled company funds, or how he forged documents to try stealing my house. Careful, Mrs. Santiago. Accusations like that could be considered defamatory. Only if they're false, Andrea countered. Now leave, or I'll file for a restraining order. After Rodney left, Isla made a call to building security while Andrea quickly packed up the documents. They know we have something, she said. We need to move fast. I'm filing these with the DA today. What about Travis? I asked, watching my son happily playing, oblivious to the tension around him. He stays with you, Andrea assured me. No judge will grant custody to grandparents under federal investigation for fraud. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Final warning. Take the deal. I showed it to Andrea and Isla. Perfect, Andrea said, snapping a photo of my screen. More evidence of harassment. They're digging their own grave. I don't understand, I said. Why not just let me keep the house? Why try to take Travis? Isla's eyes widened. Because Travis is Casey's heir. If anything happens to Ian, Travis would inherit controlling interest in the company, Andrea finished, with you as his guardian until he's of age. They're not just trying to hurt me, I realized. They're trying to protect their scheme. Mom, Travis called out. Can we get lunch? I'm hungry. Of course, baby. I turned to Andrea. What's our next move? I'm meeting my contact at the DA's office in an hour. Isla, can you get Zoe and Travis somewhere safe, just in case? Isla nodded. My lake house. It's gated, private security. They'll never find them there. I gathered Travis's things, trying to make it seem like an adventure rather than an escape. Hey, buddy, how about a little vacation? Aunt Isla has a house with a huge yard and a tire swing. Really? Can I bring Rex? He hugged his dinosaur toy tighter. Of course you can. As we left through the back entrance, I saw Rodney in the lobby, talking intensely on his phone. He didn't see us. In Isla's car, Travis fell asleep almost immediately. Rex clutched to his chest. I watched the city fade away through the window, thinking about Casey's words in his letter. Trust yourself. You're stronger than they know. My phone buzzed again. Andrea this time. DA is reviewing everything. Says it's biggest fraud case she's seen in years. Stay safe. We'll call tonight. Isla glanced at me. You okay? Yeah, I said, surprising myself by meaning it. For the first time since Casey died, I feel like I'm doing exactly what he would have wanted. Which is? I looked back at Travis, peaceful in his car seat. Protecting our son and making sure justice is served. Even if it means sending your in-laws to prison? Especially then. I touched the window, watching rain begin to fall. They chose money over family. Now they'll lose both. The highway stretched ahead, leading us towards safety, while behind us, Andrea prepared to unleash the truth Casey died protecting. The storm was coming, and for once I wasn't afraid of getting caught in it. 3 days at Isla's lake house felt like living in a different world. Travis spent his days exploring the sprawling yard while I jumped at every unexpected sound. The trial was just 2 weeks away. "Mommy, look what I found!" Travis ran up to the porch, holding something in his muddy hands. "It's like Daddy's!" My heart stopped. In his palm lay a silver key, similar to the one I'd found in Casey's book. "Where did you get that, sweetie?" "By the big tree, there's a box there." I followed him to an ancient oak near the property line. Half buried in its roots was a small metal lockbox, weathered but intact. My phone rang. Andrea. "Turn on the news," she said without greeting. Channel 7. I rushed inside, Travis trailing behind me. Isla was already watching, her face pale. On screen, Ian stood outside his company headquarters, surrounded by reporters. The ticker below read, "Major fraud investigation launched. CEO denies allegations." "The accusations are baseless," Ian was saying, his usual confidence wavering. "This is a family matter being twisted by—" The feed cut to a reporter. "Sources say evidence of massive financial fraud was delivered to the DA's office earlier this week, including documents allegedly collected by the CEO's late son, Casey Santiago, before his death last year." "They're running scared," Andrea said in my ear. "But Zoe, be careful. I just got a copy of a letter they're planning to submit to the court." "What letter?" "They're claiming Casey was mentally unstable before his death, that he fabricated the evidence during a breakdown." Travis tugged at my sleeve. "Mom, can I show you the box now?" "1 second, baby." I turned back to the phone. "They're trying to discredit him?" "It gets worse. They've got a psychiatrist willing to testify that grief has made you paranoid, that you're clinging to Casey's delusions." Isla muted the TV. "Zoe, Travis found something you need to see." I followed them back outside to the oak tree. The lockbox was small, rusty around the edges. The key Travis found fit perfectly. Inside was a USB drive and a sealed envelope dated 1 week before Casey's accident. My hands shook as I opened it. "Andrea," I said into the phone, "Casey was here, at Isla's house. He left something." "What? That's impossible. How would he—" "Because I told him he could use it," Isla interrupted. "He called me last year, said he needed a safe place to store some documents. I gave him the gate code, but never knew if he came." I scanned Casey's letter, my breath catching. Andrea, he knew. He knew they might try to discredit him. This letter, it's a sworn statement about Ian's fraud, witnessed by a federal judge. "A judge? Which one?" "Judge Margaret Reynolds." Andrea gasped. "Reynolds is handling your custody case. She's known for being incorruptible. That's why Ian's been trying to get it moved to another court." Travis, bored with adult conversation, had wandered back to his play area. I watched him through tears, seeing so much of Casey in his movements. "There's more," I said, reading further. "Bank account numbers, dates, names of everyone involved. Casey created a complete backup of everything. This changes everything, Andrea said. They can't claim he was unstable if he was clear-headed enough to get a federal judge involved. And Reynolds will have to recuse herself now. She's a potential witness. My phone beeped with an incoming text. Unknown number again. You think you're safe at the lake house? Think again. Andrea, I said, my voice tight. They know where we are. Get out of there. Now. I'm calling the police. Isla was already moving. My car's packed. I always keep emergency bags ready. I ran to Travis. Baby, we need to go on another adventure, okay? But I like it here. I know, but... Headlights swept across the lawn as a car pulled up to the gate. Isla. Back door, she said calmly, grabbing Travis's hand. I have a boat ready at the dock. Standard evacuation procedure. You have an evacuation procedure? She smiled grimly. I work in corporate PR. You'd be surprised what you need to prepare for. We slipped out through the back just as someone started pounding on the front door. Travis, sensing our fear, stayed quiet as we hurried down the path to the private dock. The boat was small but fast. As Isla steered us across the dark lake, I held Travis close, the lockbox clutched in my free hand. Where are we going? He whispered. Somewhere safe, I promised, watching the lights of pursuing vehicles reflect off the water behind us. And this time, we're not running away. We're running toward something. What? I thought of Casey's letter, of Judge Reynolds, of all the evidence now safely in our possession. Justice, baby. We're running toward justice. My phone lit up with a message from Andrea. Police en route. Judge Reynolds wants to meet. First thing tomorrow. We've got them. The courthouse buzzed with tension as I sat beside Andrea. Travis safely tucked away with Isla at a secure location. Ian and Deborah sat across the aisle, their perfect postures betraying no hint of the chaos they'd caused at the lake house last night. Judge Reynolds entered, her stern expression revealing nothing about our early morning meeting where she'd reviewed Casey's sworn statement. Your Honor, Rodney began, standing smoothly. Given recent developments, we request a change of venue due to potential. Denied, Judge Reynolds cut him off. This court is well aware of the circumstances. Proceed with your case. Rodney recovered quickly, launching into a practiced speech about my supposed instability. Mrs. Santiago has exhibited increasingly paranoid behavior since her husband's death. She's made outlandish accusations, fled with the child to hidden locations. Objection, Andrea interrupted. Counsel is presenting speculation as fact. Sustained, Judge Reynolds said. Mr. Hudson, do you have any actual evidence of Mrs. Santiago's alleged instability? We have an expert witness, Your Honor. Dr. Phillips. A grey-haired man in an expensive suit took the stand. I'd never seen him before in my life. Dr. Phillips, you've evaluated Mrs. Santiago's mental state. Based on observed behaviours and reported incidents. Objection, Andrea stood. The witness has never met my client. This is hearsay. Your Honor, Rodney pressed, Dr. Phillips is a leading expert in grief-induced paranoia. Judge Reynolds leaned forward. Has Dr. Phillips ever treated Mrs. Santiago? Well, no, but... Then his testimony is inadmissible. Next witness. I watched Ian's face redden as his carefully constructed case began crumbling. Deborah clutched her designer handbag so tightly her knuckles turned white. Your Honor, Rodney tried again. We have documentation showing Mrs. Santiago's financial inability to provide. Actually, Andrea interrupted, approaching the bench with a folder, we have evidence that the financial documents previously submitted to this court were fraudulent. The gallery buzzed with whispers. Ian stood abruptly. Your Honor, I object to these baseless accusations. Sit down, Mr. Santiago, Judge Reynolds ordered. Ms. Butler, proceed. Andrea projected a document onto the courtroom screen. This is a bank statement submitted by the plaintiffs, showing Mrs. Santiago's supposed financial distress. And this, she switched images, is the actual statement from the bank, showing a very different picture. These documents are stolen, Rodney protested. Obtained illegally? They were obtained, Andrea said clearly, by Casey Santiago before his death, along with evidence of extensive financial fraud perpetrated by Ian Santiago. Evidence that was documented and witnessed by... She paused meaningfully. This very court. The room erupted. Judge Reynolds banged her gavel. Order! Your Honour, Rodney sputtered. This is highly irregular. What's irregular, Judge Reynolds said, is attempting to use fraudulent documents to gain custody of a child while under federal investigation. Ian stood again. You demand nothing, Judge Reynolds snapped. Sit down, or I'll have you removed. She turned to me. Mrs. Santiago, do you have anything to add? I stood, my voice steadier than I expected. Yes, Your Honour. I'd like to submit Casey's final letter into evidence, the one he wrote explaining exactly why he feared his parents might try to take our son. Rodney jumped up. Objection. This is all hearsay from a deceased witness whose testimony was properly documented and notarized, Andrea countered, by Judge Reynolds herself. The courtroom fell silent. Ian and Deborah exchanged panicked looks as their lawyer frantically flipped through his papers. Furthermore, Andrea continued, we have evidence of ongoing harassment, including threats made against my client last night when the plaintiff's associates trespassed on private property. Judge Reynolds studied the room for a long moment. I've heard enough. This court finds no merit in the plaintiff's petition for custody. Moreover, given the evidence of fraudulent documents and witness intimidation, I'm referring this matter to the District Attorney's Office. Your Honour, Rodney protested. In addition, she continued, I'm issuing an immediate restraining order preventing Ian and Deborah Santiago from coming within 500 feet of Mrs. Santiago or her son. I heard Deborah's sharp intake of breath, saw Ian's face turn from red to ashen. This case is dismissed. The gavel banged with finality. Mrs. Santiago, you are free to go. As court officers approached Ian and Deborah, Andrea squeezed my hand. It's over. Not quite, I said, watching my in-laws being read their rights. The criminal case is just beginning. My phone buzzed. A photo from Isla, showing Travis playing happily in their secure location, blissfully unaware that his future had just been secured. Casey would be proud, Andrea said softly. He knew, I replied, gathering my things as Ian and Deborah were led away. He knew exactly what would happen. That's why he left us a path to follow. Outside the courthouse, reporters waited with cameras, but I barely noticed them. All I could think about was getting to Travis, holding him close, and finally starting our new life, free from threats, free from fear, and full of the truth Casey had fought to protect. The federal courthouse was a different kind of intimidating than family court. I sat in the witness box facing not just Ian and Deborah, but a jury of 12 people who would decide their fate. Mrs. Santiago, the prosecutor began, please tell us when you first became aware of the financial irregularities at your father-in-law's company. I glanced at Travis, sitting between Andrea and Isla in the gallery, absorbed in his colouring book. 3 months had passed since the custody hearing, and he'd grown so much stronger. Happier. It started with the custody case, I explained. They tried to use forged documents to take my son, but my husband had already discovered their scheme. Objection, Ian's new lawyer called out. Speculation about the deceased's knowledge. Overruled, the judge said. Continue. I held up Casey's journal. My husband documented everything. The fake companies, the offshore accounts, the money laundering. He knew they'd try to discredit him, so he created a failsafe. The prosecutor displayed Casey's sworn statement on the courtroom screens. This statement, witnessed by Judge Reynolds, details over $50 million in embezzled funds. Can you tell us how you found this evidence? My son, I said, smiling at Travis, found the key to a lockbox containing the final proof. Casey had hidden it somewhere he knew only I would think to look. Ian's face contorted with rage. Deborah dabbed at her eyes with a monogrammed handkerchief, her perfect makeup finally cracking. The prosecutor presented more documents. These bank records show regular transfers to accounts in the Cayman Islands, all authorized by the defendant, Ian Santiago. Mrs. Santiago, did your husband explain why he began investigating these transfers? Yes. He discovered that client funds were being diverted, properties were being purchased at inflated prices, and the difference was being pocketed through shell companies. And when he confronted his father, Ian threatened to destroy him. I met my father-in-law's gaze. Casey recorded that conversation too. The courtroom speakers crackled with Casey's voice. Dad, this has to stop. What you're doing is illegal. Ian's recorded voice replied, You ungrateful little... I built this company. Everything you have is because of me. Cross me, and I'll make sure you lose it all. Deborah broke down, sobbing. Ian's attorney requested a recess, but the judge denied it. Mrs. Santiago, the prosecutor continued, what happened after this confrontation? A week later, Casey died in a car accident. His brakes failed. The jury stirred. This was new information. The FBI had only recently concluded their investigation into Casey's death. Objection! Ian's lawyer shouted. This is prejudicial. Your Honor, the prosecutor countered, we have the FBI's forensic report confirming tampering with the victim's vehicle. The judge allowed it. Ian's face went pale. Mrs. Santiago, what do you believe was your husband's ultimate goal in gathering this evidence? He wanted to protect our son, I said, my voice steady. He knew what they were capable of. He knew they'd try to take Travis to maintain control of the company. So he left us a way to fight back. The prosecutor nodded. No further questions. During cross-examination, Ian's lawyer tried to paint Casey as unstable, me as vindictive, but the evidence was too strong, the paper trail too clear. When the jury returned after only 2 hours of deliberation, Travis had fallen asleep in Andrea's lap. On the count of conspiracy to commit fraud, how do you find? Guilty. On the count of money laundering? Guilty. On the count of witness tampering? Guilty. Count after count, the word guilty rang through the courtroom. When they reached the final charge, conspiracy to commit murder, I held my breath. Guilty. I watched as federal marshals led Ian and Deborah away in handcuffs. They wouldn't be eligible for parole for at least 20 years. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed us again, but Isla's PR team created a path through them. Andrea carried sleeping Travis to the car while I made a brief statement. My husband died trying to expose the truth, I said into the microphones. Today, that truth finally came to light. Later that evening at home, I found Travis in Casey's office looking at his father's photo. Daddy was a hero, wasn't he? He asked. I sat beside him, pulling him close. Yes, baby. He protected us even when he couldn't be here. Like a guardian angel? Exactly like that. My phone buzzed. A message from Andrea. Federal seizure of assets approved. Travis's trust fund restored. Everything Ian stole goes back to the victims. I looked at Casey's photo, at his kind eyes and knowing smile. He'd left us everything we needed. Evidence, allies, and most importantly, the strength to fight. Mom, Travis asked, can we get ice cream? I laughed, feeling lighter than I had in months. Yes, baby, we can get ice cream. Justice had been served, but more importantly, our future was finally our own. The morning sun streamed through Casey's office window as I packed the last of the court documents into storage boxes. Travis sat at his father's desk, carefully arranging action figures between stacks of papers. Mom, look what I found. He held up a small photo that had slipped behind the desk. It showed Casey and me at that coffee shop where we first met, both of us laughing over spilled cappuccino. My phone buzzed. Andrea calling. Have you seen the news? I switched on the office TV. A reporter stood outside Ian's former company headquarters. In a shocking development, federal investigators have uncovered similar fraud schemes at 3 other major corporations, all linked to offshore accounts identified in the Santiago case. Your story didn't just take down Ian, Andrea said. It's causing a domino effect. The FBI is calling it the biggest corporate fraud bust in a decade. Travis tugged at my sleeve. Can we hang Daddy's picture in my room now? Of course, baby. I turned back to the phone. Andrea, I need to go. Travis and I have some redecorating to do. Wait, check your email first. Someone wants to talk to you. I opened my laptop to find a message from a major publishing house. They wanted me to write a book about our story. Not just the legal battle, but the human side. How a mother and son found strength in the truth their father left behind. What do you think? Andrea asked. I watched Travis carefully removing Casey's photo from its frame. People need to know they can fight back, that the truth matters. The doorbell rang. Isla stood on the porch with a moving box labelled Casey's Notes. Found these at my lake house, she said. Thought you might want them for the book. How did you know about... Please, she smirked. Who do you think recommended you to the publisher? Travis ran to hug her. Aunt Isla, want to help me hang Daddy's picture? While they headed upstairs, I opened the box. Inside were Casey's handwritten notes about his investigation, but also personal letters he'd written to Travis, one for each birthday until he turned 18. He really did think of everything, Isla said, returning downstairs. Mom, Travis called. Come see. In his room, Travis had created a memory wall. Casey's photo hung in the center, surrounded by drawings, ticket stubs, and small mementos. He'd even added the newspaper clipping about Ian's conviction, though I suspected he didn't fully understand it yet. It's perfect, I said, hugging him. My phone chimed with a text from Judge Reynolds. Thought you'd want to know. Your case inspired 3 other whistleblowers to come forward. You're starting a movement. Isla read the message over my shoulder. She's right. People are talking. About standing up to corruption, about fighting for their families. I just wanted to protect my son, I said. And you did more than that, Isla replied. You showed others they could protect theirs too. Travis pulled out Casey's old copy of The Great Gatsby, the book he'd been reading when we met. Can you read this to me? That's a bit advanced for you, buddy. Please, Daddy wrote notes in it. I opened the book, finding Casey's familiar scribbles in the margins. He'd underlined one passage. They were careless people. They smashed up things and creatures and then retreated back into their money or their vast carelessness. How about we start with these instead? I pulled out the birthday letters. Travis settled into my lap as I opened the first envelope. Casey's words filled the room. Dear Travis, by the time you read this, you might understand why I had to fight. But what I want you to know most is how much I love you. Isla quietly excused herself as Travis and I read letter after letter, each one revealing more of Casey's heart, his hopes, his determination to protect us even after he was gone. The afternoon sun cast long shadows through the window when we finished the last letter. Travis had fallen asleep, clutching his father's photo. My laptop screen glowed with the publisher's email, cursor blinking in the reply box. I began typing, I'll tell our story. Not just about corruption and justice, but about a father's love, a mother's strength, and a little boy who helped uncover the truth by finding a key in the roots of an old oak tree. Outside, life went on. Companies reformed their practices, whistleblowers came forward, families found their voices. But in that quiet room, holding my sleeping son, I felt Casey's presence stronger than ever. We'd done more than survive. We'd helped change things. And somewhere I knew Casey was smiling.
The sound of forks scraping against plates filled the heavy silence of our family dinner. 2 weeks after Luke's funeral, and already I could feel the vultures circling. I caught Thea's sideways glance as she leaned closer to Jameson, whispering something that made him nod with practiced sympathy. My name is Genesis, and I never thought I'd be sitting at my own dining table feeling like an outsider. Luke and I hosted these family dinners for 30 years, but tonight everything felt different. The familiar scent of my pot roast couldn't mask the stench of ulterior motives. Genesis, dear, Thea's voice cut through my thoughts, saccharine sweet. Have you given any thought to what we discussed last week, about downsizing? I set down my fork, meeting her gaze. No, Thea, this is my home. We're just concerned. Jameson chimed in, dabbing his mouth with a napkin. Living alone in such a big house at your age? I'm 55, not 85, I replied, forcing a smile. And I'm not alone. Athena helps me maintain the place. Athena, my caretaker,
looked up from her plate, offering a supportive smile. She was young, but her presence had become a comfort since Luke's passing. About that, Thea continued, sharing another meaningful look with Jameson. We've been thinking it might be more practical to consider one of those lovely retirement communities. The one near us has excellent facilities. My stepson Ira shifted uncomfortably in his chair. His girlfriend Olive squeezed his hand under the table, a gesture I wasn't meant to see. Luke wanted me to stay here, I said firmly. This was our dream home. Luke would want what's best for you, Thea pressed, her voice dripping with false concern. And managing such a large property alone, it's not practical. I'm managing just fine, I insisted, standing to clear the plates. Athena moved to help, but I waved her off. I needed a moment alone in the kitchen. As I loaded the dishwasher, voices drifted in from the dining room. I moved closer to the door, my heart pounding as I caught fragments of their conversation. Needs to be handled delicately, Thea was saying. We can't just... The sooner the better, Jameson replied in a low voice, before she gets too settled in the idea of staying. Dad wouldn't have wanted this, Ira's voice, barely above a whisper. Your father wasn't thinking clearly near the end, Thea snapped. We're doing what's best for everyone. I gripped the counter, my knuckles turning white. Luke had been perfectly clear-minded when he made me promise to keep our home, to never let anyone pressure me into leaving. This is your sanctuary, he'd said, holding my hand during those final days. Don't let anyone take it from you. Bethany, my best friend, had warned me about this. Watch your back, she'd said at the funeral. Family can turn faster than milk in summer heat. I returned to the dining room with coffee and the apple pie Luke always loved. Conversation stopped abruptly, replaced by overly bright smiles. Genesis, Kayla, my niece, spoke up for the first time that evening. Would you like me to come by tomorrow? Help you sort through some of Uncle Luke's things? Before I could answer, Thea interrupted. Oh, we can help with that. No need to trouble yourself, Kayla. I'd love your help, Kayla, I said pointedly. Come by around 10? The rest of the evening passed in a blur of meaningful glances and veiled suggestions. As everyone prepared to leave, Thea hung back, placing a hand on my arm. We're family, Genesis. We only want what's best for you. I looked into her eyes, seeing the calculation behind the concern. I know exactly what you want, Thea. She stiffened slightly before recovering her smile. Get some rest, dear. We'll talk more soon. After they left, I sat in Luke's favorite armchair, running my fingers over the worn fabric. The house felt different now, filled with shadows of whispered conspiracies and hidden agendas. Athena appeared with a cup of tea. Ms. Genesis, are you all right? They're planning something, Athena. They want my home. She hesitated before speaking. I've noticed things. Papers on Mr. Jameson's desk when I served him coffee last week. Something about property values. I took the tea, my hand steady despite the anger building inside me. Luke knew this might happen. That's why he made sure everything was in my name. But looking at the family photos on the wall, I wondered if his siblings knew that. And more importantly, I wondered what they were willing to do to get what they wanted. They think I'm just a grieving widow they can push around, I murmured, more to myself than Athena. They're about to learn how wrong they are. The morning after that tense dinner, I was sorting through Luke's old files when Kayla arrived. Her presence brought a warmth to the house that had been missing since the funeral. Found anything interesting? She asked, settling beside me on the floor of Luke's study. Just memories, I said, holding up an old photograph of Luke and me at our wedding. And some concerning documents. What kind of documents? I pulled out a folder I'd discovered earlier. Medical evaluations. Recent ones. But I never had these tests done. Kayla's eyes widened as she scanned the papers. These are dated last month. It says you're showing signs of cognitive decline? Exactly. And look who ordered them. I pointed to the referring physician's name. Dr. Harrison? Isn't that Aunt Thea's golf buddy? Before I could respond, we heard footsteps in the hallway. Athena appeared in the doorway, looking uncomfortable. Ms. Genesis? Mr. Jameson is here. He says he needs to discuss some urgent family business. I quickly slid the folder under some others. Send him in. Jameson entered, his usual confident stride betraying a hint of nervousness. Genesis, I hope I'm not interrupting anything important. Just catching up with Kayla, I said, gesturing to the scattered papers. Going through Luke's things. His eyes darted around the study. Actually, that's partly why I'm here. There are some documents we need to locate. Insurance papers, property deeds, that sort of thing. Everything's in order, I assured him. Luke was very thorough. Yes, well, he cleared his throat. Thea and I would feel better if we could review them. Make sure everything's properly arranged. Kayla stood up, crossing her arms. Why wouldn't it be properly arranged, Uncle Jameson? He shot her a sharp look. Family looking out for family, that's all. Genesis has been through so much. I appreciate the concern, I said, standing as well. But I'm handling it. Just then, Athena appeared again. Ms. Genesis, there's someone at the door. Says they're here about the property assessment? Jameson's face reddened. I'll handle that, he said quickly, heading for the door. No, I called after him. I'll handle it. This is my house after all. In the foyer, a woman in a business suit was waiting. Mrs. Stout, I'm Rachel from Cornerstone Realty. I'm here about the property evaluation requested by my sister-in-law, I finished, watching Jameson squirm. I'm afraid there's been a misunderstanding. This house isn't for sale. Oh. She looked confused, checking her tablet. I have paperwork here indicating. Whatever you have is unauthorized, I said firmly. I own this property, and I haven't requested any evaluations. After the realtor left, Jameson tried to explain. We just wanted to know the current market value, for tax purposes. Get out, I said quietly, and tell Thea to stop whatever game she's playing. Once he was gone, Kayla hugged me. You know what they're trying to do, right? They think the house is still in Luke's name, I said. They don't know he transferred everything to me before he died. Ms. Genesis? Athena's voice was hesitant. There's something you should know. Last week, while cleaning Mr. Jameson's study during the family lunch, I found some papers. One was labeled Petition for Guardianship. My blood ran cold. They're trying to declare me incompetent. I took pictures with my phone, Athena admitted. I knew something wasn't right. Kayla grabbed my hand. We need to call Bethany. She's a lawyer. She'll know what to do. I nodded, but my mind was already racing ahead. The medical evaluations, the property assessment, the guardianship petition. They were building a case to take everything from me. There's more, Athena said. I overheard Miss Thea on the phone yesterday. She mentioned something about an emergency family meeting next week. Said it was time to handle the situation. I walked to Luke's desk and opened the bottom drawer, pulling out a sealed envelope he'd given me months ago. Time to handle it indeed. What's that? Kayla asked. Insurance, I replied, breaking the seal. Luke knew his siblings better than they thought. He left me everything I need to fight back. Inside were documents, photos, and a USB drive. Evidence of past schemes, failed business dealings, and family secrets Thea and Jameson would rather keep buried. They want to play dirty? I said, spreading the contents on the desk. Let's show them how it's done. Kayla and Athena exchanged looks, and I saw something new in their eyes. Not pity for the grieving widow, but respect for a woman ready to fight back. First, I said, reaching for my phone, let's call Bethany. Then we're going to plan our own little family meeting. Bethany's office smelled of coffee and determination. She spread the documents across her desk, her lawyer's eyes scanning every detail while I sat across from her, gripping my cup of coffee so tight I thought it might shatter. This is serious, Genesis, she said, holding up the guardianship petition. They're not just trying to take your house. They're trying to take your autonomy. Can they do it? Kayla asked from the chair beside me. Bethany shook her head. Not with what Luke left you. But we need to be smart about this. They're building a paper trail to make you look incompetent. Show her the USB drive, Kayla urged. I pulled out the small device Luke had left behind. Bethany plugged it into her computer, and her eyes widened as she scrolled through the files. Well, well, she murmured. Looks like Thea and Jameson have been busy. Failed real estate schemes, questionable investments, tax discrepancies. Luke kept everything, I explained. He said it might come in handy someday. A knock at the door made us all jump. Bethany's assistant poked her head in. Ms. Genesis, your stepson Ira is here. Says it's urgent. I exchanged looks with Kayla before nodding. Send him in. Ira entered, looking uncomfortable in his business suit. His girlfriend Olive followed, her hand protectively on his arm. Genesis, we need to talk, he said, running a hand through his hair. Aunt Thea called a family meeting for tomorrow night. They're going to try to force me into assisted living, I finished. Declare me incompetent? He blinked. How did you? Your father warned me this might happen, I said softly. He knew his siblings better than they knew themselves. Olive stepped forward. Ira's been struggling with this. He knows what they're doing is wrong. They said it was for your own good, Ira blurted out. That you're not coping well, that the house is too much. But I've seen the documents they're using. The medical evaluations are fake. Bethany leaned forward. Would you be willing to testify to that? Ira looked at Olive, who nodded encouragingly. Yes. Dad would never forgive me if I let them do this to you. My phone buzzed. A text from Athena. Ms. Thea just showed up at the house with some men. They're going through papers in the study. They're searching my house. I stood up, anger replacing fear. Like common thieves? They're looking for the deed, Ira explained. They don't know Dad transferred everything to you. Genesis. Bethany's voice was sharp. Don't confront them, not yet. Let them think they're winning. The family meeting tomorrow, Kayla said suddenly. That's when they're planning to spring everything on you. The medical reports, the guardianship petition. Then that's when we'll spring our trap, I replied. Bethany, can you have everything ready by then? She nodded, already reaching for her phone. I'll have the injunction prepared, along with documentation of their fraudulent activities. But Genesis, are you sure you want to go nuclear? They're still family. Family doesn't try to steal your home and freedom, I said firmly. Luke protected me from them one last time by leaving me these documents. I'm going to use them. Ira shifted uncomfortably. Aunt Thea's been calling all the relatives, telling them you're not mentally stable. Some believer. Let them, I said. Tomorrow night, everyone will know the truth. We spent the next hour planning. Bethany prepared legal documents, while Kayla coordinated with Athena to document everything happening at the house. Ira provided details about Thea and Jameson's plans, his loyalty to his father's wishes finally outweighing family pressure. As we were leaving, Olive pulled me aside. Genesis, there's something else you should know. Thea's been promising pieces of your house to different family members. The antique furniture to Cousin Sarah, the art collection to Uncle Robert. Dividing up my possessions before they've even taken them, I said bitterly. How thoughtful of her. Back at home, I found Athena waiting anxiously. The study was a mess, drawers left open, papers scattered. They left when they couldn't find what they were looking for, she reported. Ms. Thea seemed angry. I picked up a framed photo of Luke that they'd knocked over. Tomorrow night, they'll be more than angry. They'll be exposed. Ms. Genesis? Athena hesitated. Whatever happens tomorrow, I want you to know I'm on your side. What they're doing. It's not right. I squeezed her hand, grateful for another ally in this fight. As night fell, I sat in Luke's chair, looking at the home we'd built together. Tomorrow, his siblings would try to take it all away. But Luke had given me everything I needed to fight back. They think I'm a helpless widow, I whispered to his photo. Time to show them how wrong they are. The day before the family meeting, I decided to do some investigating of my own. Thea's real estate office was quiet when I walked in, claiming I needed to discuss a property listing. The receptionist, recognizing me as family, waved me straight through. Genesis! Thea's surprise was poorly masked by her fake smile. What brings you here? Just wanted to talk, I said, settling into a chair across from her desk. About the house. Her eyes lit up like a shark spotting blood in the water. Oh, have you been considering our suggestions? Actually, I've been thinking about what Luke would want. I watched her carefully. He always said family should stick together. Exactly! Thea leaned forward eagerly. That's what we've been saying, and the retirement community near us. A knock interrupted her. Jameson burst in, freezing when he saw me. Genesis, I didn't expect. Join us, I said pleasantly. We're discussing family matters. He shared a look with Thea before sitting down. I noticed him trying to subtly close his laptop, but not before I glimpsed an email with my name in the subject line. I found some interesting papers in Luke's study, I mentioned casually. Medical evaluations I don't remember having. Memory issues are exactly what we're concerned about, Thea said smoothly. These things can creep up slowly. Funny thing about memories, I replied. I clearly remember Dr. Harrison playing golf with you last month, Thea. The same doctor who supposedly evaluated me. The siblings exchanged another glance. Jameson cleared his throat. Genesis, we're only trying to help. Like you helped Luke with the Riverside Development Project? They both stiffened. That project had been their biggest failure and their darkest secret. I don't know what you're talking about, Thea said sharply. My phone buzzed. A text from Kayla. Found more documents in Jameson's car, photos attached. I should go, I stood up. But I'll see you both tomorrow night. I'm looking forward to our family discussion. Genesis, Thea called as I reached the door. Be careful. Sometimes people who dig too deep get buried in what they find. I turned back, meeting her gaze. Is that a threat, Thea? A friendly warning, from family. Outside, I called Bethany immediately. They're getting nervous. Thea just threatened me. Perfect, Bethany replied. Did you plant the bug? I smiled, remembering the tiny recording device I'd dropped behind Thea's desk. It's done. Let's see what they say when they think I'm gone. Back home, Athena was waiting with news. Ms. Genesis, while you were out, Mr. Jameson's assistant came by. She was supposed to deliver some papers, but she gave them to me by mistake. She handed me a thick envelope. Inside were more fraudulent medical reports and a draft of the guardianship petition, complete with forged signatures from family members. They're getting sloppy, I muttered, making mistakes. My phone rang. It was Ira. Genesis, you need to hear this. I just overheard Aunt Thea on the phone with her lawyer. They're planning to have you committed if you resist tomorrow night. Committed? My hand tightened on the phone. They can't do that. They've got a doctor on standby. They're saying it's for a psychiatric evaluation, but really, it's to get me out of the way while they take everything, I finished. Thank you, Ira. Are you still with us for tomorrow? All the way, he promised. Olive and I both. Later that evening, Kayla came over with the recording from the bug. We sat in the kitchen, listening to Thea and Jameson's conversation after I'd left. She knows something, Thea's voice crackled through the speaker. About Riverside. Impossible, Jameson replied. Those records were destroyed. Luke must have kept copies. We need to move faster, once we get control of the house. And Genesis? The doctor will handle that. A few weeks in observation, and no judge will question the guardianship petition. I stopped the recording, my hands shaking with anger. They were going to have me locked up. Not anymore, Kayla said firmly. We've got them, Genesis. All of it. The fake medical reports, the forged signatures, the Riverside evidence. Tomorrow night, it all comes out. Athena brought us tea, her young face serious. Ms. Genesis, whatever happens tomorrow, you're not alone. I looked around my kitchen, at Kayla's determined expression, at Athena's loyal support, at the house Luke and I had filled with love for 30 years. Tomorrow, his siblings would try to take it all away. But they'd forgotten something crucial. A woman protecting her home is more dangerous than any predator. No, I agreed. I'm not alone. And after tomorrow night, Thea and Jameson will wish they'd remembered that. The morning of the family meeting, Athena rushed into my bedroom, her face pale. Ms. Genesis, you need to see this. She handed me her phone, showing a group text from Thea to the extended family. Deeply concerned about Genesis's mental state. She's becoming paranoid, making accusations. Please come early to discuss intervention options. They're trying to stack the deck, I said, getting dressed quickly. How many responses? Most of the family is arriving 2 hours early. Only Kayla, Ira, and Olive declined. My phone rang. It was Bethany. Genesis, we have a problem. Thea's filed an emergency petition for temporary guardianship. They're trying to fast-track it before tonight's meeting. Can they do that? Not if we move first. I'm heading to the courthouse now. Don't let anyone in the house until I call back. Barely an hour later, someone knocked on my front door. Through the security camera, I saw Thea standing there with a man in a suit. Genesis? She called out. This is Dr. Peters. We're worried about you, dear. Please let us in. I pressed the intercom. Not without my lawyer present. See? Thea's voice dripped with concern. This paranoid behavior is exactly what we're worried about. Doctor, please note her refusal to cooperate. I'm noting your harassment, I replied, and the security cameras are noting it too. They left after 15 minutes of trying, but I knew they'd be back. I called Kayla. They're at the courthouse, she reported. Bethany's handling it. How are you holding up? I'm fine, but I stopped as Athena rushed in again. Ms. Genesis, Ms. Thea's assistant just called. She wants to help us. Put her on speaker, I told Athena, with Kayla still listening on my phone. Hello? A nervous voice came through. I'm Sandra, Ms. Thea's assistant. I've been gathering evidence for months. The forged documents, the fake medical reports. I have copies of everything. Why help us now? I asked. Because they're planning to blame me if things go wrong. I heard them this morning. I'm supposed to be their scapegoat. Sandra, I said carefully, would you be willing to testify to this? Yes. I'm tired of their schemes. I'll bring everything to your house now. An hour later, Sandra arrived with a thick folder. The evidence was damning. Emails discussing the fake medical reports, drafts of the forged documents, even recordings of Thea and Jameson planning the whole thing. My phone rang again. Bethany this time. We won at the courthouse. The judge threw out their emergency petition and issued a restraining order. They can't come within 100 feet of you until after a formal hearing. Perfect timing, I said. We just got a treasure trove of evidence from Thea's assistant. Even better. I'm on my way over. We need to prepare for tonight. The afternoon passed in a flurry of activity. Bethany and Kayla helped me organize the evidence, while Athena and Sandra prepared the dining room for the meeting. Ira and Olive arrived early, bringing more allies, cousins who'd refused to believe Thea's lies. Aunt Thea's furious about the restraining order, Ira reported. She's telling everyone it proves you're using legal tricks to hide your mental state. Let her dig her hole deeper, Bethany said, sorting papers. Every accusation she makes will look worse when the truth comes out. At 6 o'clock, my security system alerted me to cars pulling up. Through the cameras, I watched family members arriving in groups, their faces concerned and confused. Thea and Jameson stood at the legal distance, directing people toward the house. Ready? Kayla squeezed my hand. I looked around at my support team. Bethany with her legal documents, Athena and Sandra with their evidence, Ira and Olive with their loyalty, and Kayla with her unwavering support. More than ready, I replied. Let's show them what happens when you try to steal a widow's home. The doorbell rang. Through the camera, I saw Uncle Robert, Aunt Marie, and various cousins huddled on my porch, looking uncertain. Ms. Genesis? Athena's voice was strong and clear. It's time. I straightened my shoulders and headed for the door. Behind me, Bethany arranged the evidence on the dining room table. Through the window, I could see Thea and Jameson watching from their legally mandated distance, probably thinking they had the upper hand. They have no idea what's coming, Kayla whispered. No, I agreed, reaching for the door handle. But they're about to find out. I opened the door to face my family, ready to expose the truth and fight for everything Luke and I had built together. The real show was about to begin, and I had front row seats to my in-laws' downfall. The family filed into my dining room, their whispers echoing off the walls. Uncle Robert immediately took charge, his voice carrying that same condescending tone Thea had perfected. "Genesis, we're here because we're concerned," he began, standing at the head of my table like he owned it. "Thea and Jameson have shared some disturbing information." "About my mental state?" I interrupted, remaining seated. "Or about my supposed inability to manage my own home?" "Now, dear," Aunt Marie chimed in, "there's no need to be defensive. We're here to help." Bethany cleared her throat. "As Genesis's attorney, I should inform everyone that this meeting is being recorded." "Attorney?" Uncle Robert's eyebrows shot up. "This is a family matter?" "It became a legal matter," I said, "when Thea and Jameson tried to file an emergency guardianship petition this morning." Murmurs rippled through the room. Cousin Sarah spoke up. "They said you were becoming unstable, making wild accusations. Like these?" I nodded to Athena, who started distributing copies of the forged medical reports. "Or perhaps you'd like to see these?" Sandra began passing out emails showing Thea and Jameson's plans. "What is this?" Uncle Robert demanded, scanning the documents. "Evidence," Bethany stated flatly, "of conspiracy, fraud, and attempted elder abuse." The room erupted in confused chatter. Through the window, I could see Thea and Jameson pacing at their court-mandated distance. "That's not possible," Aunt Marie protested. "Thea showed us evaluations from Dr. Harrison, who happens to be her golf partner," Kayla cut in, "and who, when contacted by our investigator, confirmed he never examined Genesis." Ira stood up. "It's true. I've seen them fabricating these documents. They planned to have Genesis committed so they could seize control of the house. The house that, by the way," Bethany added, "is legally mine." I pulled out Luke's final property deed, transferred to me 6 months before his death, with all the proper documentation. Uncle Robert grabbed the deed, his face reddening. "This can't be right. Luke would never—" "Luke knew exactly what his siblings were capable of," I said quietly, "just like he knew about the Riverside development scandal." The room went deadly silent. Even Uncle Robert paled. "How did you—" he started. "Luke kept records," I continued, "of everything. The investors they defrauded, the environmental regulations they violated, the money they embezzled." Sandra stepped forward, her voice shaking. "I have copies of all the transactions. They plan to use the profits from selling this house to pay back their debts." Cousin Sarah stood up abruptly. "Is this true? They promised me the antique furniture if I supported the guardianship petition. They promised me the art collection," another cousin admitted. "They were dividing up my home before they even had it," I said, "using all of you as pawns in their game." Bethany laid out more documents. "We have evidence of at least 6 different attempts to forge Genesis's signature, 3 fabricated medical evaluations, and dozens of emails discussing their plans to have her forcibly committed." The family's shock turned to anger. Not at me, but at Thea and Jameson. Through the window, I could see them realizing something was wrong, as relatives began shooting them furious looks. "There's more," Ira added. "They've been using family investments to cover their debts for years. Check your accounts, especially the trust funds they manage." Phones came out immediately. The room filled with gasps and cursing as people discovered the truth. "I trusted them with my children's college fund," Aunt Marie whispered. Uncle Robert was already dialing his bank. Others were texting Thea and Jameson, demanding explanations. "Genesis?" Cousin Sarah approached me, tears in her eyes. "We had no idea. They told us you were sick, that you needed help." "They counted on family loyalty to blind you," I said gently. "Just like they counted on me being too grief-stricken to fight back." Bethany stood up. "I've prepared criminal complaints and civil suits. Anyone who's lost money to their schemes can join the legal action." A line formed at Bethany's end of the table as relatives rushed to add their names to the complaints. Through the window, I watched Thea and Jameson finally realize their game was up. They hurried to their car as family members began storming out to confront them. "Should we stop them?" Kayla asked, watching them speed away. "No need," Bethany smiled. The police are waiting at their homes with search warrants. This isn't just about saving your house anymore, Genesis. This is about justice for everyone they've hurt. I looked around my dining room, at the family members hugging and apologizing, at my team of supporters standing proud, at the home Luke had protected for me one last time. Justice, I agreed, and truth. It's all I ever wanted. The next morning's headlines screamed, "Local real estate moguls arrested in fraud scheme." My phone hadn't stopped buzzing since dawn, with calls from family members and reporters. "Turn on the news!" Kayla burst through my front door, still in her pajamas. "They're doing the perp walk." Sure enough, there were Thea and Jameson, being led out of their homes in handcuffs. Their perfectly manicured appearances had crumbled, Thea's hair disheveled, Jameson's expensive suit wrinkled. "Genesis!" Bethany's voice came through my speakerphone. "The DA wants to meet with you today. They've found evidence of even more crimes during the searches." "How much money did they steal?" I asked. "Initial estimates are over $2 million from family members alone. The Riverside development fraud could triple that number." Athena brought in coffee as we watched the coverage. The reporter was interviewing Uncle Robert outside the police station. "We trusted them," he said on screen, his face red with anger. "They nearly convinced us to help them destroy an innocent woman's life to cover their crimes." The doorbell rang. Ira and Olive stood there with Sandra, all looking exhausted but relieved. "The police interviewed me all night," Sandra said, collapsing onto my couch. "I gave them everything, every email, every forged document, every recording." "You were brave to come forward," I told her. "I should have done it sooner. The things they were planning," she shuddered. "They wanted to have you committed for months while they liquidated everything you own." My phone rang again. Aunt Marie this time. "Genesis, I'm so sorry. We should have seen through their lies. They took advantage of our grief over Luke." "They took advantage of everyone," I assured her. "But it's over now." The morning passed in a blur of police statements and family visits. Around noon, Bethany arrived with more news. "The DA is offering them a deal," she announced, "but they have to make full restitution to everyone they defrauded." "They'll have to sell everything," Ira said. "Their houses, cars, investments." "Good," Kayla declared. "Let them know how it feels to lose their homes." The television showed Thea and Jameson's booking photos, while a reporter detailed their schemes. Sources say the siblings targeted their own family members, using their positions of trust to embezzle millions. Their sister-in-law's resistance to their final scheme led to their downfall. "Ms. Genesis?" Athena called from the kitchen. "More family members are here." Cousin Sarah led a group into my living room, carrying boxes and bags. "We're returning everything we took yesterday," she explained. "The things Thea told us to secure during the meeting." I hadn't even noticed items missing in the chaos. They unpacked Luke's rare books, family photos, even his prized golf clubs. "We were wrong," Sarah continued, tears in her eyes. "So wrong. Can you ever forgive us?" Before I could answer, Bethany's phone buzzed. Her eyes widened as she read the message. "They're not taking the deal," she announced. "Thea and Jameson are claiming everything was Luke's idea, that he set up the fraudulent schemes, and they were just following his instructions." "What?" Ira jumped up. "They're trying to blame Dad?" "It won't work," Bethany said firmly. "We have dated documents proving the schemes started after Luke's death, plus Sandra's testimony and the recordings. They're desperate," I realized, trying to salvage their reputations by destroying Luke's. "Well, they've lost their last ally," Uncle Robert declared from the doorway. We hadn't heard him arrive. "The country club board just voted to revoke their memberships, unanimously." For Thea and Jameson, that would hurt worse than jail time. My phone lit up with a text from an unknown number. It was a photo of Luke and me at our wedding, with a message. "You'll regret this. Family secrets should stay secret." I showed it to Bethany, who immediately called the DA. "Add witness intimidation to the charges." "They still think they can scare me," I said, looking around at my support system, Kayla, Ira, Olive, Athena, Sandra, and the family members who'd finally seen the truth. They don't understand that I'm not alone anymore. Ah, speaking of not being alone, Bethany said, checking her phone again, the DA wants to know if you'll speak at their arraignment tomorrow. Show the judge that the person they tried to declare incompetent is fully capable of testifying against them. I thought of Luke, of our home, of everything we'd built together. Yes, I said firmly. It's time they faced someone they can't intimidate or manipulate. They wanted your house, Kayla said, hugging me. Instead, they lost everything. Not everything, I corrected her, looking at our gathered family. They lost something far more valuable than money or property. They lost our trust, and they're never getting that back. The courtroom fell silent as I approached the podium. Thea and Jameson sat with their expensive lawyers, their designer outfits replaced by drab clothing that somehow made them look smaller, diminished. Mrs. Stout, the judge said kindly, please share your statement with the court. I unfolded my prepared notes, but set them aside. Instead, I looked directly at my former in-laws. I thought about coming here with anger, I began, about listing every scheme, every lie, every betrayal. But that's not what Luke would want. Thea flinched at her brother's name. Jameson stared at his hands. Instead, I want to talk about legacy. Luke believed in building things that last. Homes, relationships, trust. While you were plotting to take my home, I was planning its future. I turned to address the judge. Your Honor, I'm converting my house into a women's shelter and resource center, a place where vulnerable people can find safety and support, just like I found support when I needed it most. Murmurs rippled through the courtroom. Kayla squeezed Athena's hand in the front row, both of them beaming. The money they stole from our family, I continued. Every penny they repay will go toward funding this shelter. Their greed will become someone else's sanctuary. Objection! Thea's lawyer stood. This is inflammatory. Overruled, the judge cut in. Continue, Mrs. Stout. Thea, Jameson, I addressed them directly. You thought I was a grieving widow you could easily destroy. You were wrong. Luke didn't just leave me a house. He left me the strength to defend it, and the wisdom to use it for something greater than myself. Bethany stood up next to me, handling the formal part. Your Honor, we've submitted the paperwork establishing the Luke Stout Memorial Foundation. All restitution payments will go directly to funding the shelter's operations. The judge nodded approvingly. Given the defendants' rejection of the plea deal and their subsequent attempts to defame their deceased brother, I'm inclined to impose the maximum sentence. Thea finally broke her silence. Genesis, please! We're family! So, family? I turned to her. Family doesn't plot to have someone committed. Family doesn't forge medical documents or steal trust funds. Family builds each other up. They don't tear each other down. The judge cleared his throat. Thea and Jameson, please rise for sentencing. They stood, trembling. The judge's voice was stern as he handed down their punishment. 7 years in prison, full restitution to all victims, and permanent bars from working in real estate or financial services. As they were led away, Ira approached me with Olive. Dad would be proud, he said softly, both of how you fought back and what you're doing with the house. Outside the courthouse, reporters clustered with cameras and microphones. But it was Sandra who spoke first, standing with other victims of Thea and Jameson's schemes. We're all contributing to the shelter, she announced. Every penny they repay us will help other people rebuild their lives. Uncle Robert stepped forward. The family's establishing a scholarship fund, too, for women seeking legal or financial education. We want to prevent others from being victimized like we were. Back home, I found Athena directing volunteers who were helping convert the guest rooms into shelter spaces. Kayla was organizing donations of clothes and supplies that had poured in since the story broke. Ms. Genesis, Athena called out, come see what arrived. In Luke's study, now transformed into a counseling room, hung a new sign. The Luke Stout Memorial Foundation, turning houses into homes, survivors into warriors. Perfect timing, Bethany said, walking in with a stack of papers. The first 3 residents have been approved. They move in next week. I touched the sign gently, thinking of Luke. He'd always said our home had too much love for just 2 people. Now it would shelter dozens, giving them the same security and support he'd given me. Genesis! Kayla pointed out the window. A young woman stood hesitantly at our gate, clutching a small bag. I walked out to meet her. Can I help you? I saw the news, she said quietly. About what you're doing here. I need a safe place. Then you found one, I said, opening the gate. Welcome home. Behind us, the house seemed to glow in the afternoon light. Where Thea and Jameson had seen only profit, I saw purpose. Where they'd plotted destruction, I'd built hope. Come on, I said to our first unofficial resident. Let me show you around. This house has a way of healing broken things. Trust me, I know from experience. As we walked inside, I smiled at the irony. My in-laws had tried to take everything from me. Instead, they'd helped me find my true calling. Sometimes the best revenge isn't destroying your enemies. It's using their weapons to build something beautiful.
The first time I realized my mother cared more about appearances than actual people was when she made my sister cry at her own birthday party. Not the quiet kind of crying either. The full-on, mascara-running, shoulder-shaking kind that makes everyone stop and stare. And you know what my mom did? She smiled. That perfect plastic smile that never quite reached her eyes. I'm Amelia, and I grew up in a house where image was everything. Where the grass had to be exactly 1 inch tall. Where family photos were choreographed like Broadway productions. And where my mother's word was absolute law. Lena, sweetie, you need to stop this right now, Mom said through clenched teeth, still maintaining that picture-perfect smile as my sister sobbed over her ruined birthday cake. People are watching. The cake wasn't even ruined, just slightly tilted from where Lena had bumped the table in her excitement. But to my mother, slightly imperfect, might as well have been destroyed. It's fine, Mom, I said, stepping forward. We can just… Amelia, her voice cut through the air like a whip. Take your sister inside, now. I led Lena away from her own party, past the perfectly arranged refreshment table and manicured lawn, where our select guests pretended not to notice the drama unfolding. As soon as we were inside, Lena collapsed against me. I just wanted to see if the flowers were real, she hiccuped, referring to the sugar decorations on her cake. I know, kiddo. I hugged her tight. Mom's just being Mom. That night, after the guests had gone and Lena was in bed, I overheard Mom on the phone in her study. The door was cracked open just enough for me to see her pacing. Rocky, I need another extension. Yes, I know what I promised, but… Her voice dropped to a whisper. The party alone cost $3,000. I had to maintain appearances. No, don't you dare tell anyone about… She must have sensed my presence, because she whirled around, face white as chalk. Our eyes met through the gap in the door. I'll call you back, she said quickly, hanging up. I tried to step away, but she was faster. The door flew open, and she grabbed my arm, her perfectly manicured nails digging into my skin. What did you hear? Nothing, I lied. I was just going to ask about tomorrow's dinner. Her eyes narrowed, searching my face for any sign of deception. We're having the Harveys over. Their son Wade is in your class, isn't he? I nodded, trying to keep my expression neutral. Wade was actually one of the few people at school I could stand, mainly because he seemed to see through everyone's BS as clearly as I did. Wear the blue dress I bought you, she commanded, and do something with your hair. It looks common. Later that night, I called my best friend Toby, the only person who truly understood what it was like living under my mother's regime. You should have seen her today, I whispered into my phone, curled up in my window seat. She made Lena cry over a cake. Toby, a cake. Your mom's got issues, Ames, he replied. Like, serious control freak issues. Tell me about it. And I think I just overheard something I wasn't supposed to. Spill. She was talking to Rocky. You know, that sketchy friend of hers? Something about needing an extension and promising money. Wait, Toby interrupted. Isn't Rocky the one who runs that investment group your mom's always bragging about? Yeah, but this didn't sound like normal investment talk. She looked scared, Toby. I've never seen her scared before. A soft knock at my door made me jump. Amelia, it was Lena. Gotta go, I told Toby quickly. Text you later. Lena slipped into my room, her eyes still puffy from crying. Without a word, she climbed onto my bed and curled up next to me like she used to when we were little. Am I a bad person? She asked in a small voice. What? No. Why would you think that? Because I made Mom angry. Because I ruined everything. I felt something inside me crack. Listen to me, I said, turning to face her. You didn't ruin anything. Mom's the one who ruined your party, not you. But even as I comforted my sister, my mind kept returning to that phone conversation. My perfect, proper, controlling mother was hiding something. And for the first time in my life, I had leverage, real leverage, against her. I just had to figure out how to use it. The dress wasn't even that revealing. Long-sleeved, knee-length, with a subtle shimmer that caught the light when I moved. But the moment I stepped out of the dressing room at Nordstrom, Toby's face lit up, and I knew I'd found my homecoming dress. Your mom's going to hate it, he said, grinning. It's perfect. It's completely modest, I argued, spinning in front of the mirror. She can't possibly. It's not beige, boring, or from her approved list of stores. Trust me, she'll hate it. He was right, of course. But for once in my life, I didn't care. I'd saved up my own money from tutoring, and I was tired of looking like I'd stepped out of a 1950s catalog. When I got home, Mom was in the kitchen with Rocky, their heads bent over some paperwork that they quickly shuffled away when I walked in. Where have you been? Mom demanded. Shopping for homecoming. Look what I found. I held up the bag, trying to sound excited rather than defensive. Rocky's eyes darted between us, a strange smile playing on his lips. I should go, Grace. We can discuss the investment opportunities later. As soon as he left, Mom snatched the bag from my hands and pulled out the dress. Her face went through a series of expressions: shock, disgust, and finally that cold anger I knew too well. Absolutely not. Mom, it's perfectly appropriate. Even Mrs. Peterson would approve. And I said no. She held the dress up like it was contaminated. What will people think? This isn't what we wear. This isn't who we are. It's who I am. The words burst out before I could stop them. And maybe if you weren't so obsessed with what other people think. Enough. She threw the dress onto the counter. I've already bought you a suitable dress. It's hanging in your closet. I stormed upstairs to find a shapeless, pale pink monstrosity waiting for me. It looked like something from a budget wedding catalog, all cheap lace and weird ruffles. Don't you dare slam that. The door banged behind me, cutting off her words. My phone buzzed almost immediately. It was Wade. Hey, you okay? Saw you storm out of Nordstrom looking upset. I hesitated before replying. Just drama with my mom, the usual. Want to talk about it? I'm at the coffee shop by school. I glanced at my window. The trellis outside had supported many escape attempts over the years. Give me 15 minutes. Wade was waiting with 2 coffees when I arrived, slightly breathless from my climb and subsequent sprint. Your mom again? He asked, sliding 1 cup toward me. She's impossible. It's like she wants me to be her mini-me forever. I told him about the dress situation, surprised by how easy it was to talk to him. My dad's the same way, he said. Expects me to follow his footsteps into law, wear what he approves of, date who he thinks is appropriate. How do you deal with it? He shrugged. Small rebellions, like this. He rolled up his sleeve to reveal a small tattoo on his inner arm. A simple compass design. He'd kill you if he knew, probably, but it reminds me that I get to choose my own direction. When I got home, the house was quiet. Too quiet. I crept upstairs, hoping to avoid another confrontation. My bedroom door was open. The dress, my beautiful, perfect dress, lay in shreds on my bed. The shimmer fabric was dulled with what looked like bleach, and the seams had been methodically ripped apart. Now you don't have a choice. Mom stood in the doorway, her voice eerily calm. You'll wear what I bought you. Something snapped inside me. All those years of control, of perfect smiles hiding ugly truths, of watching her break down anyone who dared to be different. It all crystallized into a single clear thought. You're right, Mom, I said, my voice steady despite the tears threatening to fall. I don't have a choice about the dress, but you don't have a choice about what happens at homecoming either. She frowned. What are you talking about? I guess we'll both find out what people think when they learn where their investment money really went. The color drained from her face. You wouldn't dare, wouldn't I? You just destroyed something I bought with my own money, something that mattered to me. Maybe it's time everyone saw who you really are. She stepped toward me, hand raised, but I stood my ground. For the first time in my life, I saw fear in her eyes. Amelia, I'll wear the pink dress, Mom, but remember, you taught me all about maintaining appearances, and sometimes appearances shatter. You're actually going to do it. Toby leaned forward across the library table, his voice barely above a whisper. Like, for real? I nodded, pulling up the photos I'd taken of Mom's paperwork on my phone. Look at these. Rocky's been helping her hide gambling debts for months. They've been using the investment group as a cover. Holy shit. He swiped through the images. These people trusted her with their money. Mrs. Peterson's entire retirement fund. Exactly. I took my phone back, my hands shaking slightly. The homecoming committee always lets parents give speeches before the dance. Mom's been chosen to talk about community values. The irony is actually painful. What's painful? Wade appeared behind us, making me jump. I quickly locked my phone screen. Nothing, Toby and I said, simultaneously, which obviously made it sound like something. Wade dropped into the chair next to me. Right, because you two always look this guilty when discussing nothing. He glanced between us. This about your mom. I hesitated, but something in his expression made me trust him. Can you keep a secret? After I explained everything, Wade was quiet for a long moment. You know this isn't just gonna hurt your mom, right? It's gonna blow up your whole family. She should have thought about that before. I'm not saying don't do it, he interrupted. I'm saying be sure you can live with the consequences. The bell rang, sending students scurrying to class. As we packed up, Wade touched my arm. Whatever you decide, I've got your back. Later that afternoon, I overheard Rocky and Mom arguing in the kitchen. You promised you'd have the money by now, Grace. Rocky's usually smooth voice was sharp with anger. The investors are asking questions. I just need more time, Mom pleaded. One more week. We don't have a week. Peterson's demanding an audit. If she finds out, she won't. Mom's voice hardened. I've worked too hard to maintain our position in this community. No one will believe. They'll believe bank statements, Rocky snapped. They'll believe empty accounts. And they'll definitely believe they're missing money. I shifted slightly, trying to hear better, but the floor creaked beneath my feet. Both adults whirled toward the doorway. Amelia! Mom's voice was dangerously sweet. How long have you been standing there? Rocky's face twisted into an ugly smile. Long enough, I'd say. He stepped toward me. Your mother and I were just discussing some sensitive business matters. I heard. I met his gaze steadily. Sounds like fraud to me. Amelia, Mom gasped. What? That's what it is, isn't it? You took people's money, lost it gambling, and now you're trying to cover it up. Rocky moved faster than I expected. His hand clamped around my arm, fingers digging in painfully. Listen carefully, you little... Get your hands off my daughter. Mom's sharp command surprised us both. Rocky released me, stepping back. Control your kid, Grace, he snarled, or I'll make sure she understands exactly how serious this situation is. After he stormed out, Mom turned to me. The fear in her eyes had been replaced by something colder. You will not breathe a word of this to anyone. Do you understand? Or what? You'll destroy another dress? I'll pull you out of school, send you to your aunt in Idaho. Is that what you want? The threat hung in the air between us. My phone buzzed in my pocket. Probably Toby wondering where I was. No, I said finally. That's not what I want. Relief flickered across her face. Good. Now go do your homework. I headed upstairs, but instead of going to my room, I slipped into Lena's. She was at her desk, headphones on, working on some art project. Hey, I said, tapping her shoulder. She jumped, pulling off her headphones. You scared me. Sorry. I sat on her bed, watching her arrange colored papers into intricate patterns. Listen, Lena, if something happened, something big, would you hate me? She turned to face me, frowning. What kind of something? Just something that might change things. A lot of things. She was quiet for a moment, her fingers still moving over the paper pieces. Is it about Mom? I nodded. Is it true? She asked softly. Yeah. She picked up a piece of red paper, folded it carefully, and added it to her design. Then I won't hate you. I left her room feeling both better and worse. My phone had 3 missed texts, 2 from Toby and 1 from Wade. You sure about this? Because there's no going back. But I meant what I said. I've got your back. I typed out my response. Homecoming's in 2 days. Time to show everyone who my mother really is. The note was waiting in my locker Thursday morning, folded into a tight square. No name, just 5 words. Keep your mouth shut, or else. That's straight-up movie villain material, Toby said when I showed him. Think it's from Rocky? Has to be. I crumpled the note and threw it in the trash. He's getting desperate. Maybe we should tell someone, the police. And say what? That my mom and her sketchy friend are threatening me because I found out they're stealing people's money. I shook my head. We need proof first. We have the photos. Not enough. We need something concrete. In English class, Wade passed me a note of his own. My dad's a lawyer. He could help. I turned to look at him, but he was deliberately focused on his textbook. After class, he caught up with me in the hallway. I'm serious, he said. He specializes in fraud cases. I can't involve your dad. This is personal enough to get another threat. He nodded toward my locker. Another note was sticking out through the vents. This one was worse. Ask your sister if she wants to keep her art scholarship. My hands started shaking. They're bringing Lena into this. Wade took the note, reading it twice. This isn't just about money anymore, Amelia. They're scared, which makes them dangerous. At home, Mom was hosting her weekly investment meeting in the living room. I could hear her laugh, that perfect practiced sound, as she served coffee to our neighbors. The returns have been exceptional, she was saying. Rocky's strategy is really paying off. I paused in the hallway, recording on my phone. Mrs. Peterson's voice cut through, but I still haven't received my quarterly statement. Oh, there must have been a mix-up with the mail, Mom said smoothly. I'll have Rocky send another copy right away. See that he does. My grandson's college fund is in there. I stopped recording when footsteps approached. Lena appeared around the corner, her face unusually serious. Why are you spying? She whispered. I fumbled for an excuse. I'm not stupid, Amelia. I know something's wrong. Mom's been acting weird. And Rocky came by this morning looking for you. He what? Said he needed to discuss your academic future, whatever that means. My stomach churned. Lena, listen to me. If Rocky ever comes by again, when Mom's not home, don't let him in, okay? You're scaring me. Just promise me. Okay, I promise. She hesitated. Is this about the money? I heard Mom crying in her room last night. She was on the phone with someone, begging for more time. Before I could respond, the living room door opened. Rocky stepped into the hallway, his eyes narrowing when he saw us. Girls, he said, his smile not reaching his eyes. Amelia, could we have a word? Actually, I was just leaving. I grabbed Lena's hand. We're late for her art class. I don't have art today, Lena started to say, but I squeezed her hand hard. Sure you do. Remember, the special workshop. Understanding flickered across her face. Right, the workshop. Sorry, Rocky. We were halfway to the door when Mom called out, Amelia, where are you going? Taking Lena to art, I shouted back, already pulling her outside. Once we were in my car, Lena turned to me. Okay, what's really going on? I started the engine, checking the rearview mirror to make sure Rocky hadn't followed us. I'm going to tell you something, but you have to promise not to freak out. By the time I finished explaining everything, we were parked outside Toby's house. Lena sat in silence for a long moment. So at homecoming, she trailed off. Yeah. And everyone will know. Yeah. She pulled out her phone, typing quickly. What are you doing? Texting my art teacher, she said. Telling her I need to drop out of the scholarship program. Lena, no. If I drop out now, they can't use it against you. She looked up at me, her expression eerily like Mom's. I'm choosing this, okay? I'm choosing you. My phone buzzed with a text from Wade. Rocky just left your house. Looked pissed. You okay? Another text came through immediately after, this one from an unknown number. Last warning, homecoming's tomorrow. Make the right choice. I showed both messages to Lena. She grabbed my hand. We're not backing down, are we? No, I said, squeezing her hand back. We're not. The morning before homecoming, I found Mom in my room, sitting on my bed with tears streaming down her face. The sight was so jarring, I almost backed out of the doorway. Mom? She looked up, not bothering to wipe her eyes. I used to sit here when you were little, watching you sleep. You were such a perfect baby, so trusting. What are you doing here? Rocky told me what you're planning. Her voice cracked. Please, Amelia, don't do this to our family. For a moment, I almost wavered. Then I remembered Lena's birthday party, the shredded dress, all the years of control and manipulation. You did this to our family, I said. I'm just telling the truth. The truth? She stood up, suddenly angry. The truth is I did everything for you girls. Everything. Do you think it was easy, maintaining our position in this community, making sure you had the best of everything? We never asked for the best. We just wanted, what? To be common. To throw away everything I built? She grabbed my shoulders. Rocky says he can fix this. One more investment, one big win. I jerked away from her. You're still gambling? After everything. It's not gambling when you know you'll win. Her eyes had a wild look I'd never seen before. Rocky has a system. This time it's guaranteed. Mom, listen to yourself. A knock at the front door made us both freeze. Through my window, I saw Wade's car in the driveway. That's my ride, I said. We're meeting the decorating committee early. Amelia, please. I grabbed my bag and rushed downstairs. Wade was waiting on the porch, looking concerned. You okay? You look like you've seen a ghost. More like the ghost of my mother's sanity. I climbed into his car, telling him about the conversation as we drove. She's desperate, he said. People do crazy things when they're desperate. I know, that's what scares me. At school, the gym was chaos. The decorating committee was trying to transform it into some kind of enchanted forest, but mostly it looked like a craft store had exploded. Toby met us at the door. Your mom's here. What? Why? Something about checking the sound system for her speech. He lowered his voice. Rocky's with her. I peered through the gym doors. Mom was standing by the stage, gesturing animatedly, while Rocky typed something on his phone. I don't like this, Wade said. They're up to something. Doesn't matter. I pulled out my own phone, checking the audio files and documents I'd gathered. In 8 hours, everyone will know the truth. Amelia. Lena's voice behind me made me jump. She was holding her phone, looking pale. You need to see this. It was an email from her art school. Due to concerns about your family's financial stability, we regret to inform you that your scholarship has been suspended pending review. They can't do that, I said. Can they? Rocky's friend is on the board, she said quietly. This is just the beginning, isn't it? Wade took my hand. We need to talk, privately. He led me to the empty choir room, closing the door behind us. My dad looked into Rocky last night. He's got a record. Fraud, embezzlement, the works. He's dangerous, Amelia. All the more reason to expose them. Listen to me. These people aren't just going to roll over. They could hurt you, hurt Lena. They're already hurting us. I pulled away from him. They're already threatening us and controlling us and he caught my arms, pulling me back. I know, but we need to be smart about this. His face was inches from mine. Let me help you. Let my dad help you. We can do this the right way. For a moment, I almost gave in. It would be so easy to let someone else handle this, to not have to be the one to destroy everything. Then my phone buzzed. Another text from Rocky. Final offer, walk away now, or your sister loses more than just her scholarship. The right way takes too long, I said, showing Wade the message. They need to be stopped now. He read the text twice, then looked at me with an intensity that made my breath catch. Okay, then we do this your way. But first, he kissed me. Not a gentle kiss, but one full of worry and determination, and something else I couldn't name. When we broke apart, he pressed his forehead against mine. Whatever happens tonight, remember you're not alone in this. I know. I straightened up, squaring my shoulders. Now help me figure out how to hack into the gym's sound system. Through the window, I could see Mom and Rocky leaving the gym, looking satisfied. They had no idea what was coming. 8 hours to go. The pink dress felt like a straitjacket. Mom hovered while I got ready, adjusting every detail like I was her personal doll. Perfect, she said, stepping back. Now remember, smile when I'm speaking. The Peterson family will be watching. Is that a threat or just good advice? I muttered. Her hand froze on my shoulder. What was that? Nothing. I'll smile. The doorbell rang, Wade arriving to pick me up. Mom's eyes narrowed. I thought you were going with Toby. Change of plans. Downstairs, Wade stood awkwardly in our foyer, looking uncomfortable in his suit, while my mother circled him like a shark. Your father's coming to the ceremony, she asked. Yes, ma'am. He's very interested in hearing your speech. Something in his tone made her pause. But before she could respond, Rocky burst through the front door without knocking. Grace, we have a problem. He stopped short when he saw Wade. Private matter, now. They disappeared into Mom's study. I moved closer to the door, but Wade caught my arm. Don't, he whispered. We already know what's happening. Mrs. Peterson called my dad this afternoon. What? She's demanding an emergency audit. Tomorrow morning. My heart raced. But the evidence will come out tonight, he finished. Ready. I glanced at the closed study door, where raised voices were becoming audible. More than ready. The gym had been transformed. Fake trees, draped with twinkling lights, created winding paths between clusters of tables. The stage was set up for the ceremony, where parents would give their speeches before the dance began. Toby met us at our assigned table, looking nervous. Everything's set with the sound system. You sure about this? I pulled out my phone, checking the audio files one last time. Absolutely. Amelia, Lena appeared beside me, still in her helper's apron from decorating. Rocky's here. He's talking to the principal. Through the crowd, I could see them by the stage. Rocky was gesturing emphatically, while the principal nodded. He's trying to stop your mom's speech, Lena said. Saying she's sick or something. He knows, Wade said. He must have figured out what we're planning. It doesn't matter, I said, even as my hands shook. I don't need Mom's speech. I just need… Amelia Lynch? A voice behind me made me jump. The principal's assistant stood there with a clipboard. You've been added to the speaking program. Your mother requested it specifically. My blood ran cold. What? She says you have something important to share with the community. I looked at Wade, then Toby, then Lena. They all wore the same expression of dawning horror. It's a trap, Wade said. If you go up there, they'll try to discredit me first, I finished. Make anything I say sound like teenage rebellion. So don't do it, Lena pleaded. We'll find another way. The lights dimmed, signaling the start of the ceremony. I could see Mom and Rocky by the entrance, watching me. Mom's smile was back, that perfect practice smile that hid everything ugly underneath. No, I said, no more hiding, no more perfect facades. I turned to Toby. Is the sound system still set? He nodded. But then here's what we're going to do. I quickly outlined my new plan. Wade looked worried. Toby looked scared. But Lena looked proud. Mom and Rocky think they're trapping me, I said. But they forgot something important. What's that? Wade asked. I've spent my whole life watching them manipulate people. I learned from the best. The principal took the stage, tapping the microphone. Welcome everyone to this year's homecoming celebration. Mom caught my eye across the room and smiled wider, probably thinking she'd won. She had no idea what was coming. I felt Wade's hand slip into mine. Last chance to back out. Not a chance. I squeezed his hand. Besides, your dad's here, right? With those police officers by the door. He grinned. Ready to act the moment you give them proof. The principal was introducing the first speaker. Soon it would be my turn. Mom and Rocky thought they were forcing my hand, making me choose between public humiliation or silent compliance. But I had recordings, bank statements, witness statements from people they'd threatened. And most importantly, I had the truth. Ready? Toby whispered, his hand on the sound system controls. I watched my mother take her seat in the front row, still wearing that perfect smile. Ready. And now, Amelia Lynch would like to say a few words about community values. The spotlight felt hot as I walked to the microphone. Mom's smile had turned predatory. She thought she was watching me walk into her trap. Good evening, I started, my voice surprisingly steady. We're here tonight to talk about values, about trust, about the masks we wear and the lies we tell to maintain our perfect images. Rocky shifted in his seat. Mom's smile flickered. My mother taught me everything I know about appearances, about hiding ugly truths behind beautiful lies. I pulled out my phone. Let me share some of those lessons with you. Before Rocky could move, Toby hit the sound system. My mother's voice filled the gym. Rocky, I need another extension. The investors can't know. We'll lose everything. Mom stood up. Amelia, stop this right now. Why, isn't this what you wanted? For me to share with everyone? I clicked to the next recording. Rocky's voice now. Control your kid, Grace, or I'll make sure she understands exactly how serious this situation is. The crowd started murmuring. Mrs. Peterson rose from her seat, face pale. Here's the truth, I continued, my voice rising over the growing noise. My mother and Rocky have been running a Ponzi scheme through their investment group. They've stolen millions, your retirement funds, your children's college savings, all of it, to cover my mother's gambling debts. She's lying, Rocky shouted, starting toward the stage. 2 police officers stepped forward, blocking his path. Am I? I held up my phone. I have bank statements, transfer records, everything. Amelia, please, Mom's voice cracked. You're destroying our family. No, Mom, you did that. Every time you chose appearances over reality. Every time you hurt someone to maintain your perfect image. I turned to the crowd. Mrs. Peterson, check your accounts, now. She was already on her phone, hands shaking. The color drained from her face. It's empty, she whispered. Everything's gone. The gym erupted in chaos. People grabbed their phones, checking accounts, shouting questions. Rocky tried to run, but was quickly detained by the officers. Grace Lynch, Wade's father, stepped forward, flanked by more police. You're under arrest for fraud and embezzlement. Mom's perfect mask finally cracked. She looked around wildly. Then her eyes locked on me. I did it for you. Everything I did was to give you a better life. No, I said into the microphone, my voice echoing over the chaos. You did it for yourself, for your image, for your addiction. As the officers led her away, she started crying. Real tears this time, not the perfect ones she'd practiced in mirrors. You've ruined everything, she sobbed. Actually, Wade's father stepped up to the microphone beside me. Thanks to your daughter's evidence, we've already frozen the offshore accounts where most of the money was hidden. With proper legal action, most of it can be recovered. The relief in the room was palpable. Mrs. Peterson actually hugged me, tears in her eyes. Thank you, she whispered. My grandson's future. I found Lena in the crowd, her face a mix of emotions I couldn't read. When our eyes met, she gave me a small nod. Wade appeared at my side as the police led Mom and Rocky away. You okay? I don't know. My hands were shaking now that it was over. I just sent my mother to jail. You exposed the truth, he corrected. There's a difference. The principal was trying to restore order, announcing that the dance would be postponed. People were still talking, calling family members, sharing the news. Amelia, Toby called from the sound booth. You might want to see this. He held up his phone. Local news alerts were already popping up. Local investment scandal exposed at high school dance, and mother-daughter confrontation reveals $1 million fraud. Well, Wade said, taking my hand. Guess you can't hide from this one. Good. I squeezed his hand. I'm done hiding. Lena joined us, still wearing her helper's apron. What happens now? Now, I looked around the gym, at the fake trees and twinkling lights that were supposed to create a perfect fantasy world. Now we deal with reality. Together, she asked, her voice small. I pulled her into a hug. Together. The police were still taking statements. Cameras were flashing. And tomorrow would bring a whole new storm of consequences. But for the first time in my life, I felt truly free. No more perfect facades, no more masks, just the messy, complicated truth. And somehow, that was better than perfect. The morning sun streamed through the courthouse windows as I straightened Lena's collar. You don't have to do this. Yes, I do. She squared her shoulders. I want to speak at the sentencing. Wade's father approached us, legal papers in hand. They're ready. Remember, your mother's already pleaded guilty to reduce her sentence. Inside the courtroom, Mom sat at the defendant's table in her prison jumpsuit. No makeup, no perfect hair, no facade. When she saw us, her eyes filled with tears. Rocky was being sentenced separately. He'd tried to flee the country, but was caught at the Canadian border. All rise, the bailiff called. The judge reviewed the charges, the plea agreement, then turned to the gallery. I understand some victims wish to speak. Mrs. Peterson went first, describing how she'd trusted Mom with her grandson's future. Others followed, neighbors, friends, all people who'd believed in the perfect image Mom had created. Then Lena stood up. My mother taught me that appearance is everything, she said, her voice clear and strong. That we should hide our true selves to make others comfortable. But my sister taught me something different. She turned to look at me. She taught me that real strength comes from telling the truth, even when it hurts. Mom started crying silently. I don't hate you, Mom, Lena continued. But I don't want to be perfect anymore. I want to be real. When she sat down, the judge nodded at me. Would you like to speak, Miss Lynch? I stood, facing my mother directly. All my life, you controlled everything. What I wore, who I talked to, how I acted. You said it was because you loved me. But love doesn't destroy dresses, or threaten scholarships, or steal from innocent people. Mom tried to speak, but her lawyer stopped her. I'm not speaking today to punish you, I said. I'm speaking because for the first time I can. Because Lena deserves to live without fear of disappointing you. Because all these people deserved better than your lies. The judge considered everything, then delivered the sentence. 8 years, with possibility of parole after 5, plus restitution to all victims. As the bailiff led Mom away, she turned to us one last time. I'm sorry, she whispered. I really am. Outside the courthouse, reporters waited with cameras and questions. Wade stepped in front of us, blocking their view. My father's handling press statements. Let's get out of here. We escaped to the small cafe where Wade and I had first really talked. Toby was waiting with hot chocolates and news. The art school reinstated your scholarship, he told Lena. They said your moral courage impressed them. She smiled. A real smile, not Mom's practiced one. I submitted a new piece, called it Perfect Lies. The house sold quickly. Wade's father joined us, sitting down heavily. Between that and the recovered funds, most victims will get their money back. Where will we live? Lena asked quietly. With Aunt Sarah, I said. She's moving back to help us finish school here. The cool aunt who rides motorcycles? Toby grinned. The one your mom always called a bad influence? That's the one. Wade took my hand under the table. You okay? I looked around at my strange little family. My brave sister, my loyal best friend, my supportive boyfriend, his father who'd helped us navigate the legal chaos. None of it was perfect. All of it was real. You know what? I squeezed his hand. I actually am. My phone buzzed with a text from Mom's prison account. I understand now what I did to you. To everyone. I hope someday you can forgive me. Lena read it over my shoulder. Will you? Someday, I said. When she proves she's really changed. When she learns to be real instead of perfect. Like us? She asked. Like us. Outside, fall leaves swirled past the window. The same leaves that had been falling the night I discovered Mom's secret. But everything else had changed. Hey, Toby said suddenly. You never got to actually go to homecoming. Wade's eyes lit up. He stood, offering me his hand with exaggerated formality. May I have this dance? There's no music. I laughed. He pulled out his phone, started playing a slow song. Other cafe patrons smiled as he pulled me to my feet. Who needs a fancy dress? He said softly. You're perfect just like this. Not perfect, I corrected him. Real. As we swayed between the tables, Lena took pictures with her art school camera, capturing the moment in all its imperfect glory. No posed smiles, no careful angles, just genuine joy. And that was better than perfect could ever be.